Hello and welcome to another episode of Kissed by Fire, the podcast trying not to freeze itself in the lands of always winter and so make its way to all of you southerners out there. I'm Steph Lioness.
And I'm B-Word. Today we will be resuming our journey through the chapter Jaehaerys and Alysanne, Their Triumphs and Tragedies. After mostly, we did release one recently, but we had a little break over the summer covering Hot D. But before we get into the chapter, we wanted to tell you how to contact us and get more content if our regular podcasts just aren't enough for you.
If you need more from us, you can find us on Twitter on @KissedPodcast, where we shitpost, chat about theories, and generally enjoy our A Song of Ice and Fire or Aswaf lives with you guys.
Yeah. And if that is still not enough, you can join us on Patreon. We are supported by Patreons. We really could not put this together without them.
Nope.
So if you wanted to be part of the fun where you get extra perks like shout-out, swag, exclusive content, and more, you can join us at the Grumpkins and Snarks level for as little as $5 a month.
And we actually have some new exciting Patreon developments, including launching this month. It's coming for you guys, a special Discord channel just for you. And I am in the process of setting that up and organising it, and you will get your invites within the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, probably, not even that much. So that is where we will forge a lovely little community and post things and hang out as much as we possibly can, and it's just going to be really nice, we think, so we can't wait.
We will pretty much be at your beck and call.
All the time.
All the time. And actually, we did talk about new Patreon perks in our recent bonus episode. So Patrons, if you haven't checked it out, listen to the episode because we talk about a little bit more of the details there that we want to add. Yes. And speaking of Patreons, I just want to take a second to thank our Patreon at the Queensguard level. Crispy, the Song of Ice, thank you so much for all your support. We love you so much. You are literally the best.
You are actually the best. So thank you very much. But without further ado, let's get on with the show. We will cover another 10 or so pages of this absolutely mammoth chapter. It's probably the biggest one we've done so far. Yeah. It's really big. And
that's what she said.
Wah, wah. What chapter is it called? It's called
Jaehaerys and Alysanne, Triumphs and Tragedies.
And Tragedies. Yes, there we go. And so we're kind of, last time, you'll remember we had Sanrixian on, which was an amazing episode.
Oh, my favourite ever. Yes,
that was brilliant. And Rhaena had returned from her travels and met her horrible fate. So if you haven't caught up on that one, do, because she comes back to King's Landing and it's pretty grim.
Pretty grim. Bad things happen. It's not
Bad
nice.
Things happen. No.
Sanri was so fun to cover that with too.
Yeah.
She fit. And it must be just like the Kissed by Fire aspect because she fit in so well with us. Definitely. It was great. 'Twas wonderful. We miss you, Sanri.
Yeah, we love you, Sanri. But this time we'll be covering the fate of Rhaena after the sad and gruesome death of her daughter Rhaena.
I'm pouting.
I know. I'm sorry, darling. I thought of you while I was preparing this.
Yeah.
The establishment of dragons in the Dragon Pit is also something that comes up, and the new order of dragon keepers. There are also babies abound, which brings joy and maybe pause for thought.
Joy
There's also
patriarchy.
Joy and patriarchy, two things that do not often go together very well. There's also a new hand who immediately goes off on a journey to the east, to Braavos, and gets all spicy with the Sea Lord and the Iron Bank. And then Alysanne starts a long journey to the north. As always, there'll be a section at the end where we talk spoilers, because we aim to be as spoiler-free as physically and humanly possible.
As chronologically spoiler-free, I think.
As chronologically spoiler-free, yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it, because we do try, and then in the end there'll be spoilers, but we'll give you fair warning when the spoilers are about to come, so you can, if you're reading along with us or don't want to think ahead, then you can jump off at that point in time.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
So we've finished up. We ended with King Jaehaerys forbidding anyone from visiting Valyria under pain of death because of what happened to Rhaena, because they believe she went there.
He forbade it.
He forbade. I forbid thee. Shall I do? Oh my God! Do you know what we haven't done in ages?
Your maester voice?
I haven't done my maester voice in months. Oh my god.
I can't wait. Maybe the thing I was most excited for.
Like, do I even know how to do it anymore? My god.
You do.
Okay.
You'll find it in there.
I'll find it. I need to think, like, what I think of is an American person trying to put on a posh old man's voice. That's how I do it. That's how I think of it. Okay. So it's the passage we are going to read starts with, "Not long after thereafter." No, see, I fucked it up already. So I can't read. The pressure was too much. Right, I'll start again. "Not long thereafter, Balerion became the first of the Targaryen dragons to be housed in the dragon pit. Its long, brick-lined tunnels, sunk deep into the hillside, had been fashioned after the manner of caves, and were 5 times as large as the lairs on Dragonstone. 3 younger dragons soon joined the Black Dread under the Hill of Rhaenys, while Vermithor and Silverwing remained at the Red Keep, close to their riders." So we got Balerion. I've pretty much said that he's like sent to his room. Bad Balerion. Get in the pit.
Yeah.
Get in the pit. How dare you?
So we do with the dog.
Naughty.
Go to bed. Go to bed. Yeah.
Or
You
the
go
kids.
to your bed. Yeah.
You
Or the kids.
go to your room.
You go to your
You
room.
know?
Yes.
Go to your room. I want to know which 3 younger dragons went with him. Well, do we know what they would be? Who would they be? 3 younger dragons. Who? Who is there? Is it ones from the dance? Do we think?
I was trying to... Caraxes, perhaps? No. Because a lot of Jaehaerys kids have the dragon eggs, get it?
The dregs.
My dyslexic brain. In the cradle, they hatch in the cradle. So Caraxes, I thought maybe, but maybe not. I don't know.
So I'm not
Caraxes
sure.
is big, but not as maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll have to read through the book and refresh.
Yeah, maybe.
And come back and
I couldn't think, and I was like, is there a dragon family tree of who? I mean, I know that there's a Targaryen family tree, but is there like when were the dragons born and who sired the dragons? And...
I imagine there would be.
But I just feel like it's one of those throwaway comments from George that's like, oh yeah, 3 younger dragons, and it turns out it was blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think. I was like, who would it be? Because obviously Dreamfire already exists.
Yes.
But it's got to be ones that existed in the dance, right?
I feel like, yes.
I feel like it, yeah. But I don't know.
But the key thing, we talked about it during the show, the key thing in this particular paragraph, a new order of guards was created for this purpose. The Dragon Keepers, 77, of course. 77.
Of course! I know.
Yep.
I've literally written 77 of them, obviously.
Strong and clad in suits of gleaming black armor, their helms crested by a row of dragon scales that continued diminishing down their backs. Very wicked outfits, way better outfitted than they were in the show.
I think obviously the show is show canon, not thingy canon, but the implication in the show is that they're an ancient, like we talked about it, like are they like an ancient order from Valyria who came with Aenys or whoever, Aenar Targaryen and Aenys, and no is the answer. They were just made by people.
I know. I feel like there has to have been an inspiration for this. So like, is it like, I don't know. I feel like they probably do have people on Dragonstone that are similar to this role, but maybe less official. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I want to, in the words of the X-Files, I want to believe.
Yeah.
I want there to be a dragon order that came over from Valyria and that has passed down secrets and history for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I want that to be true. But
whose idea was it, if it didn't already exist? Like, was this Jaehaerys' idea? Because it doesn't seem like it would be. He's
not. God, no, it'd be Barth, probably.
I loved your reaction. No!
Just definitely not. He doesn't seem the kind of guy who'd have that kind of idea.
Yes.
I think Septon Barth probably came up with it. He said, yeah.
I was going to attribute it to Alysanne, but...
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
But Barth is the one who knows about dragons, so he'd be like, oh, they used to have these orders of dragon keepers in Valyria, and I've got all the scrolls, blah, blah, blah. Let's just do that. But
perhaps. But it's also like, Alysanne might have been like looking over scrolls with him or something, and they found it, and she was like, "Oh, we should do that." Like, I don't know. I just feel like Alysanne's bookish too.
She is bookish too, so it'd be one of the two, because it usually is those two. It's Barth or Alysanne who have the Jaehaerys' best ideas.
Yes, exactly. Behind every strong man is a good woman and a hot priest. Yeah,
basically. But I feel like we're definitely jumping into the realm of fan fiction there, though.
Yeah, it's true. I'm really disappointed that when our last episode dropped, that hot priest wasn't trending on Twitter, but fine.
I know. Yeah, outrageous.
Outrageous.
Yeah. Yes. We need more hot priests in our lives.
We do.
I feel offended by the next sentence. I feel actually offended. I was like, fuck you, maesters. Because the next sentence in this is, little and less need be said of the return of Rhaena Targaryen from Estermont after her story. What? Why? Why does little and less need to be said? Like, why? Yep. We have like paragraphs of absolute guff from these maesters. Why are they like just really dismissive of, well, Rhaena came back, her daughter was dead and everything was shit?
Queer erasure.
And you were right, because you were annoyed that she didn't get...
She wasn't there for the funeral.
Information. She wasn't there for the funeral. She wasn't there for anything. And I was like, oh, maybe she did or not. But no, she'd already been... Array was dead and had been burnt by the time she got there. Mm-hmm. Which is really sad. And she says, it would seem I am doomed to always come too late. Which is just so sad. That's such a...
My poor girl.
I know.
All of this breaks my heart. So she took Araya's ashes to the sky and let her loose on the wind because she wanted to fly.
Because Jaehaerys is like, oh yeah, you can put ashes on Dragonstone if you want. She's like, no, she fucking hates that place. She wanted to fly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she scattered them on the wind. Yeah. It's just really sad. Like, Rhaena's life is just really sad. Yeah. And it's a funny thing, like, because Jaehaerys sort of, it's like, you can still have Dragonstone if you want. And she's like, no, I don't really want there. There's nothing there for me now but grief and ghosts. Yeah, and Alysanne, it's like, do you want to go back to Greenstone? She's like, no, there's ghosts there. Kind of ghost, but no less sad. And then she cracks me. So, Rhaena is hilarious and a badass, because even in this, they're like, so do you want to... You can have a seat on my council if you want. She's like, babes, you don't want to hear anything I've got to say.
Yeah, you never fucking listen to me. Why are you going to start now? Who are you kidding?
No.
Yeah.
You shall not like any counsel I might offer, because I think Rhaena is very aware that Jaehaerys is a misogynist and wouldn't listen to her,
and essentially
would not like what she had to say. Yes, exactly. So,
yeah.
And then I must say, I love Alysanne, but she is problematic at this point.
Yes, these are the little things about Alysanne that for me say she sort of like is a powerful woman, but a powerful woman who feeds the patriarchy. I just think at this moment she's problematic. I think she just doesn't understand her sister. So what she does is says, you are still a young woman. If you like, we could find a kind and gentle lord who would cherish you as we do. You could have other children. And Rhaena's response is, get to fuck, which is a Scottish phrase. Get to fuck. It was better. It was so much better.
Even better than
the
that.
best line in the book. I fed my last husband to my dragon. If you make me take another, I may eat him myself. I was like, you bad bitch. I love you so much.
I love that so much. I think Alysanne doesn't understand her sister, and she doesn't necessarily... She doesn't really understand what Rhaena's been through. Rhaena's quite a bit older. Mm-hmm. And Alysanne was not there when she had to marry Maegor, as in, like, she wasn't around for the whole thing.
No, and she was just a child. I don't think she understands anything. She was just a child.
She wouldn't have understood it. And she just kind of thinks, well, wouldn't you want to be looked after by someone gentle and have little children running around you? Because that's what Alysanne wants. Yeah. Whereas Rhaena's like, no, I don't even... Alysanne, do you think Alysanne... I'm not even sure Alysanne understands that Rhaena is gay. Like, I don't think she gets...
No,
I just don't think she understands
doesn't exist
her sister.
in Westeros necessarily, but she doesn't understand her for sure. But what I mean is, like, the way that we interpret gay doesn't exist the way that it would exist in universe is what I mean by that. It's like me saying, like, gay doesn't exist in history because the way relationships were defined were different than they are today.
maybe. I think she's. I just don't. I think she's just like. I just don't think she gets it.
She doesn't
at all. She doesn't understand Rhaena, and maybe no one apart from Rhaena can. Like Rhaena has been through so much that it would be very difficult for most
trauma.
Yeah, most people wouldn't understand Rhaena.
No.
You know, she'd tell you her life story, and you'd go, "What?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, what now? You were made to marry who? And then what happened? And then they all.
This
and then
guy
your
that
next
you
husband
married
murdered
died,
everybody.
and then this one was the nightmare, and then you were like raped repeatedly by this person, and then all of your best friends were murdered, and then
by your
imagine?
next husband, and then your daughter ran away, and then came back and like burst, her body burst, and then you missed the funeral because your shitty brother.
Yeah. Yep.
You know.
Yep. Like literally, it's all bad.
It's all bad. It's all bad. But she ends up going to a place, so she doesn't want Dragonstone, she doesn't want Estamont, she doesn't want to hang out at King's Landing. She ends up going to a place which is kind of out of left field, like, what? And she goes off to Harrenhal, of all the places.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's a big place. The person that is currently being held by House Towers, who were, like, followers of Maegor. Mm-hmm. Weren't they one of the last people to see him alive? Wasn't Lord Towers one of the last people?
Oh yeah, maybe.
And his namesake, Maegor Towers, is the last of the line. He lives there, but lives alone, except for a cook and 3 elderly men-at-arms in one of the 5 towers. And Jaehaerys is like, oh, you can have the other 4 towers, because he lives in one. And she's like, nah, I'll be alright. I have a smaller household than he does. So she goes and lives in the Widow's Tower, which is aptly named, I think, to be honest.
Appropriate, yes. Yep.
Maegor lives in the Tower of Dread. I mean, fucking hell, these towers' names are like, okay, really. Do you think, did Harren the Black name them this, or were they named them after? Did Harren the Black give them these terrifying names? The Tower of Dread, the Widow's Tower. Because there's the Wailing Tower as well, isn't there?
Yeah, but I think that's because
that
of the
was
winds
named because of the
after,
winds after it was burned. So I'm wondering whether they were named.
So I wonder if it's the Widow's Tower because someone who was a widow was the first person to really live there. Who knows?
It just reminds me of slightly spoilery, but somebody names their sword Widow's Wail, and I was a bit like, is it meant to be like, I'll make a widow out of you? You know, it sounds like bravado from Harren the Black, maybe, to be like, like, I'm a widow maker because I kill so many people.
Could be.
He literally did kill so many people.
He did.
They apparently, Rhaena and Maegor Towers did forge a little friendship, and he died in 61 AC, and she brought his servants into her own household and looked after them until she died. And this bit's weird. It just zooms very, like, it basically goes, so Rhaena came back, found that her daughter had already been cremated, scatters her ashes, goes off to Harrenhal, and then it just is like, and then she made a friend, and then she died in 73 AC, and that's it.
So this is my problem with this, is I feel like this book, you know, zooms and stuff, but it was like they George just wanted to be done writing about Rhaena now. Mm-hmm. And so he she comes back past her life. That's what I wondered. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? But I'm like, we'll have to keep an eye, because I'm like, does she come back, or is this
I can't remember.
I can't either now, but I feel like this is maybe the last we hear of her, and she hasn't even technically died yet.
No, she's not, because we're not anywhere
all of this pisses me off even more, because it just explains how much Jaehaerys, like how little Jaehaerys knew about her. It does say that she would visit Rhaella in Old Town,
but not King's Landing or Dragonstone.
But she would never go to King's Landing or Dragonstone again, obviously. I mean, she has so much grief in those places. Mm-hmm. And when she died, this is the part that bothers me the most. This is the part that tells me how little Jaehaerys understood his sister. King Jaehaerys ordained that she be burned at Harrenhal and her ashes interred there. She should have been given to the winds, like she did with Irea. She loved to fly. Mm-hmm. Hello, you dumbass.
Yeah, because it does say she continued to ride Dreamfire until the end. So.
Yeah, so she should have had the same thing that happened with her daughter. And then, where is it where he says, oh yeah, so her like eulogy at her funeral pyre. My brother Aegon died at the hands of our uncle in the battle beneath the God's Eye. His wife, my sister Rhaena, was not with him at the battle, but she died that day as well.
Did she?
That's so like fuck off, Jaehaerys. It's again like I said, erasure. Have you ever watched? All I could think of with this is the L Word. Did you watch the L Word?
I didn't watch the L Word, but it's on my list of things.
It is so there's two. So make sure that you watch the original before you watch the one they did recently. Anyway, the L Word is incredible, and every queer person should read it, especially if you're like a born female queer person. Yeah, it's so good. And there's one part, without major spoiler, well, I guess I am good because I have to say the name because it's so prominent. There's one part where one of the characters dies, and like this, it broke me in half. Like I can't rewatch the show. It was traumatic. It is so sad. The episode is so well done, and so this character died, and she was gay, and at her funeral, it was in a big church. She was somewhat of a celebrity, so her funeral was in a big church, and her parents, who always like ignored the fact that she was gay or would hide it or whatever, she couldn't ever be her authentic self in public because she was trying to build a career. Yep. And her parents at the funeral said something about how she was, not as successful in her love life as like she could have, or whatever, something like that. And Alice, who loved this character dearly, just stood up and was like, Dana was gay. Like, belted it out in a church. And that's all I wanted to do in this particular scene. Where Jaehaerys is reading this stupid eulogy and making Rhaena's entire life about Aegon, who died when she was a kid, who she had kids with, who, like, nothing that defined who she was really came down to that marriage. Rhaena was gay. Yeah. Period. There's my eulogy.
And there's so much more about her than just that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, than just, her husband died, and then it's kind of like, she was defined by her husband.
Yes.
And when he died, that was it for her. And I understand kind of like, he's saying she was maybe never the same again, but she was also, like you say, she was gay and had way more in her life. She had good friends. She, like, had favourites. She loved flying. There's so much more to say than just, when her husband died, she died. Yeah. So fuck you. Fuck you, Jaehaerys.
Yep. Do better.
I did enjoy not enjoy, I guess, but I did take notice of the fact that the very slight mention of that her hair turned white when she was older, and she was feared by the people in the Riverlands that she might be a witch.
Good.
So I did also note that she didn't want to hang out with people, so people would come up to Harrenhal and want hospitality there, and they were given bread and salt and allowed to stay, but they were not. Rhaena was like, "Nah, I'm
not peopling anymore. Life. I'm done peopling."
Yeah. I'm in my solo girl era. Yes. Now, so no, thank you. But they did see her on her dragon because she would go flying, and that's why she should have had her ashes scattered, not left at Harrenhal. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not spoilery because obviously we talked about the show a lot, but obviously Rhaena's ashes are at Harrenhal. Do you think she haunts the place? Is she?
I hope so.
I hope so too. She's part of the haunting of Harrenhal.
Yeah, Daemon shows up and she's like, ooh, rubs hands together.
Yes, I love the idea.
What can we do to this guy?
Yeah, let's fuck with this guy. Yeah. She's in league with Alice Rivers.
She is. So, she would be.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. But that's when, so Rhaena died, and there was obviously no one in Harrenhal anymore, and Jaehaerys gives Harrenhal and all its lands and incomes to Sir Bywin Strong, who is the brother of Sir Lucamore Strong of the King's Guard and a renowned knight in his own right. Well, that's quite hard to say. Knight in his own right. Renowned knight in his own right. Yeah. But obviously that's how Strong gets Harrenhal. It's where we end up in House of the Dragon, Dance of Dragons. That's the origins of the Strongs having it, how they ended up with it. So obviously, Harrenhal has only actually existed for 56 or 57 years. And already it's gone through, I'm just trying to count now. We've had, obviously Harren the Black was the first owner who had it for like a week. Yeah. And then House Cohor, wasn't it? Or Kahar? I don't know how you pronounce that one.
I say Cohor.
And then
and there was that gross one.
And Strong.
But there was the
gross. Yeah, there was the gross one. So there's maybe 4 or 5 different houses now.
Already. Yes.
Already. So
'tis cursed.
Tis cursed. And obviously they've like jumped way ahead to 73 AC because actually we're in 57 AC. We're not there.
Yeah.
So we go back in time.
We time travel back.
Way back. Do a rewind noise.
Yes.
That's my rewinding the video noise.
Very good. I like it.
Thank you.
Timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey wibbly wobbly back in time to 57 AC. And this is when we end up where we talked about babies. There's another baby.
Yes. We brush over the fact that she died but isn't dead yet because a baby boy is born.
Balon.
Yes.
Named after one of the first Targaryen's lords who ruled Dragonstone before the conquest, himself a second son. I like that little detail. Like, we learn a little bit more about some of the Targs that lived on Dragonstone before the conquest.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because it's so much like Balerion, that, like, when I was reading it or talking about it, I kept almost saying Balerion instead of Balon.
Yeah. It's interesting that it is very similar to Balerion when Balerion had been so naughty recently.
Yes, right? Yeah.
Naughty little dragon.
But he is the reason for their power.
Indeed. He's a smaller baby, and then I'm just like, ugh, do we need this fucking detail? But he was louder and lustier, and his wet nurses
Lustier?
complained.
How is a baby lustier?
I know, right?
Explain that to me.
Please stop it, please.
Don't explain that to me, actually.
Don't. I don't want to know. Thank you very much. But the nurses were complaining that they had never known a child suck so hard. Great.
Okay.
Great.
Sure.
Cool.
Sure.
But then White Raven lands to let them know that the winter is over and now it is spring. So he gets known as the Spring Prince. Spring is here. A dream of spring. And so Aemon was 2 when he was born and Daenerys is 4. I like that we get a little comparison. We learn about the other children a bit here. We get a little comparison between Daenerys, Aemon and Balon. And it just makes me love Daenerys even more. She's lively, laughing, bouncing around the Red Keep, flying everywhere on her broomstick dragon that had become her favourite toy, mud spattered and grass stained. She was a trial to her mother and maids alike, for they were ever losing track of her. Which I like. I like that.
I like it too. She's spunky and feisty, and I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go Daenerys. But Aemon, not so much. He was quite cautious, careful, obedient. He was a good boy, whereas she was a wild girl. Of course. Yes. Yeah. But he liked to be read to by Alysanne, which is nice.
Yes.
And apparently his first
he was
word
inquisitive.
Was
yes.
Yes. Why?
Yeah.
To be a queen, so you can just pass that to a servant and say, could you just take this question?
I know, right? How many times we're at the dinner table, Mom, can you Google this? Mom, can you Google? I'm like, why? I don't know anymore. Well, can you Google it? Fuck.
Yeah. Why? No.
Piss
off.
I'm not Googling it.
I don't want to, like, why do cats do this? Why does the blah, 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 blah. Yeah. No.
Why did Hades take Persephone to the underworld?
That's such a good question, though, to be fair. That is a really good question.
Like, it is a good one. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
And then the other night it was, I don't think I want to talk about beheadings at the dinner table anymore, guys. Can we change the subject, please?
Yeah. We get a lot of toilet talk at our table, and I don't mind it. You know me. But I get to a point when I'm like, guys, can we just...
I forbid it.
I need to stop just for a minute, please.
My tummy doesn't do yucky things while eating. So, like, even beheading, I'm like, guys. No.
Guys, even beheading. You've just gone too far with the beheadings. Yeah. Come on.
Yep. Anyway,
so Grand Maester Benneth has been watching the children. That's not threatening at all. Grand Maester Benneth was watching them closely.
I know. This is weird. They were worried about the shit that happened between Aenys and Maegor.
They did.
And I was like, it's completely, it's apples to oranges here, guys. You had 2 different mothers.
Yes.
In that case, too. These kids
are
different.
And one of them probably birthed it by black sorcery.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And the other one probably had a musician impregnate her.
So, moral of the story, calm down, Bennifer, and stop watching the children. It's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Thank you. Basically, they're really close. They were really...
Yeah, Balon loved his big brother. He wanted to follow in his footsteps, followed him everywhere. Yeah.
And Aemon was given his first wooden sword to begin training, and Balon was too little, so he got a wooden stick.
Which is adorable. Sorry.
Which is
I'm not really fond of arming children, but that's pretty fucking cute.
that is, and apparently he like sleep with it as well.
Yeah. And when we wake my big brother is so cute.
Oh, I know. I'm just writing down a spoiler that I've just thought of. And apparently he also bonked Balerion on the nose with the stick as well.
So cute.
The stick is so sweet. Like bonk on the nose.
Yeah, it's like boop.
Yeah.
He's either brave or mad, that one.
Yeah. They decided on Bail on the Brave.
Bail on the Brave. The Spring Prince.
Bail on the Mad.
Bail on the Brave.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. And they did love Daenerys, their sister, and she liked telling them what to do, which is great. Good for her. But this is why when in the introduction we were talking about how there was lots of lovely babies, which was nice, if that's your thing. But pause for thought and patriarchy comes from this statement. From the moment Aemon was born, the king began to speak of him as his heir, to Queen Alysanne's displeasure. Daenerys is older, she would remind his grace. She is the first in line. She should be queen. And he wouldn't disagree except to say, she shall be queen. When she and Aemon marry, they will rule together just as we have. But that didn't quite go down that well with Alysanne.
But I'm sorry, but how naive is she? Because if this was the way it was going to go, then Rhaena would have been queen.
I know.
And they wouldn't be.
No.
So Jaehaerys can't set a different precedent, especially while Rhaena lives, if he wants to stay king, right?
I know.
I'm like, how naive are you being, Alysanne? Come on.
I do wonder if she just thought Rhaena wouldn't. I wonder if she's been like gaslit and someone said, oh, Rhaena wouldn't want it. She's too traumatized after what happened. Rhaena doesn't want it. Jaehaerys would be better at it. You know, like, and
maybe, but still, it just gives cause for.
No, I know.
Like, especially with all the time before when it was like Queen in the West, Queen in the East.
I know.
You know, no, Jaehaerys could not have changed it, because it would have changed his connection to authority as well.
It is naive of her, but also I understand and I totally agree with her.
Of course, I do too. Rhaena should have been the queen. Yes, I agree with Alysanne. Rhaena should have been the ruler. Yes, of course. Indeed.
But then, I mean, Jaehaerys would have still been her heir anyway, so...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they still would have been similar, and except that, yeah, because her other daughter too, well, Arya would have stayed the heir. Like, Arya's life would have been completely different if he hadn't, like, all the tragedies that Rhaena has gone through, or many of them, with Andrew Farman and with Arya wouldn't have happened, because she would have been the queen. She would have had more say.
Yeah. And Bennifer noted in his letters that it didn't entirely please the queen. Who, he said in his letters, noticed in his letters, who's he writing to?
I think it means like his diaries.
Oh, really? You don't
That's
think
what
he
I
wrote
thought,
letters
yeah.
to people?
Well,
okay.
I'm sure he does, but I just interpreted it as his diaries.
Well, I thought that, and then I thought, oh, maybe he's, like, written to people gossiping.
He could be. I mean, he does seem like kind of a gossipy bitch, for sure. He was
does.
watching the children. So
he was closely.
Gossipy old nanny. Yeah.
God, that's amazing.
We have Hot Priest and the gossipy nanny.
I just have an image in my head of a maester in their robes, but like with a little nanny's like apron.
Yeah.
Like sidling up into the kitchens going, guess what I heard? Did you hear this?
We recently watched Mrs. Doubtfire with the kids.
Oh God, I love that film.
It's great.
Hello!
It definitely, yes, that's the part that stands out of my mind too. And it definitely is like, I mean, it has not aged great. It's definitely problematic, right?
It's definitely problematic in places, yeah.
But it does definitely have that like 90s nostalgia for us.
Yes.
Or, yeah, it was 90s.
It was.
And there are moments of it that are so great, but that's what I picture is like the old nanny Bennifer is like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh my God. Doubtfire Bennifer. You've a Jaehaerys Doubtfire, dear. Oh, lovely. Yeah, I love that film so much.
Yeah, it was good.
That's very nice, dear. Okay. Well, I better tell the king and the queen that their children are getting on very well. I've been watching them closely, even while they sleep. I better not say that, because that's a bit creepy. But... Grand Maester Bennifer. That's Bennifer's voice from now on.
Oh my God, I'm
You've a Jaehaerys Doubtfire.
It is.
Oh my god.
I'm
Anyway,
crying. I don't think I've ever laughed this hard on the podcast. I'm actually crying right now.
are you? That's amazing. Well,
Okay.
I do love a bit of Mrs. Doubtfire. I do like to walk around pretending I'm Mrs. Doubtfire sometimes.
Do you? Oh my god.
Yeah, I
need
even
to
learned
live
the
together.
rap.
You're actually my soulmate.
Thank you. I've always known this. I even knew her rap. Yo, make a bean cup of cocoa. I know all of it.
Oh my gosh.
I know,
love it.
right?
Oh my gosh, I love it so much.
gosh, I love it so much.
Oh my gosh. That's the only accent I can do, and I don't even know where it's from. I just do it sometimes.
Just do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
oh my
it's
gosh.
fun.
I
Oh my
just love that
gosh.
so much.
I might cut this bit. It's just us doing voices. It's not a podcast anymore. What are we even talking about? Speaking of podcasts, we should probably pause. We'll take a pause.
Oh yeah, this is pause time. Perfect. Okay.
Pause time. Let's we've got to thank some people and answer a questionnaire.
Yes.
Indeed.
I just groaned at the question.
I know.
And the person who asked the question knows why.
Yeah, I know. They know exactly what they've done to you, so you know what I mean.
They do.
I'm gonna thank some patrons first though.
Yes.
No, actually you can thank them and then I'll ask you the question. How's about that?
Oh, all right, fine. I was gonna say okay, yeah.
Yeah. So you can...
Thank Patreons at our Ice Spiders level. We have Emily of the Eyrie, the King Beyond the Wall, Scad, and Julie Beth of Tarth. But I also just wanted to, oops, I just tugged on my microphone cord. I also wanted to say a special hello and thank you to all of our Patreons, new and old, because we have had a bunch of people, not a bunch of people, but just everybody. We just love you all. So
We do. We love you.
all of you, yes. And hello to our
Thank
newest
you.
Patreon.
Yeah. Hello,
Hello, and thank you for joining us.
I like you were starting the podcast. I was like, we've done this bit.
Just out my way.
We've done this bit. Now it's time for a Patreon question. One of the perks of being a patron is that you get to ask us a question that we will answer. You can ask us anything. Doesn't even have to be about us, WAF. But we have one from Liz, who has asked. She says, "My question is specifically for Beth."
Yes, I'm being targeted right now.
You are being targeted. This is all for you. Fuck, marry, kill Alysanne Targaryen, Jaehaerys Targaryen, Samwell Tarly. All your very favourites. So that's fuck, marry, kill Alysanne Targaryen, Jaehaerys Targaryen, or Samwell Tarly. Go.
So I struggle with this because fucking or marrying Alysanne wouldn't be consensual. It's not what she's after. I don't really want to kill her though. So this is why I struggle. I could marry her, perhaps, if she wanted to. Because I could probably, I feel like, have good conversations with her and, like, maybe actually make her realize that she's being brainwashed by the patriarchy. So if I married Alysanne, I would kill Jaehaerys and fuck Sam.
Really? So you'd say that again?
I would marry Alysanne, kill Jaehaerys, and fuck Sam.
Tell me your reasoning for between Jaehaerys and
Well,
Sam.
I hate Jaehaerys. He is the epitome of the patriarchy, and I can't stand him. And Sam, with Sam, I don't like to listen to him. I hate reading his POVs, but if I'm fucking him, I don't have to be in his head that much. He's not a bad conversationalist, and again, like, kind of with Alysanne, like, if he had the conversations to bounce back, he would be an intelligent, not that I'm marrying him, but yeah, that's my pick. Because at least the sex would be consensual, because with Alysanne, it wouldn't be, because she's not queer.
True. Interesting.
Ultimately, it was always going to come down to killing Jaehaerys. That would just...
Death to Jaehaerys.
Justice for Rhaena.
Yeah. Blimey.
Yeah.
Well,
what would you do?
I was not expecting that. Me? Well, she's not asked me, so...
Well, I'm asking you.
Okay. I think I would marry Alysanne, obviously, because the book chat would be great. I think we'd have a really good life together. You know, I know that she's problematic in a few ways, but I'm sure if she wasn't hanging around with Jaehaerys,
exactly,
I could work that out of her.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
And I just think we'd have a great library. You know, and she's quite good with kids, so maybe she'd babysit mine. So
Yeah.
that'd be great. So I'd probably marry Alysanne, and then I would, if I had to choose then between Jaehaerys and Sam, I'd have to kill Sam and fuck Jaehaerys.
Really? Why?
Because I have a thing about smells, imaginary or real, and I just feel like because Sam is in the Night's Watch, and
You don't think that if you
I
were
think he would
fucking him, you
absolutely
could have him
stink.
shower first?
I don't know. I just like if he presented himself to me as is, and I had to fuck him. Like I just don't think I could be near someone who I just feel like has a stinky crotch and stinky crotch cheese. Whereas I think Jaehaerys cleans more, and
Well, he has more opportunity. He
has more opportunity to do that. Exactly. I think I'd fuck him because I reckon like he obviously does a lot of sex. He has a number of babies.
I would not.
So
I could not.
And then at least if I fuck him, I don't have to speak to him again. Like I don't have to.
Would you like
do
smother
anything.
him after it was done? Just like playing with his style?
If he was into it. I won't kink shame. So, but no, I think I'd fuck the patriarchy out of him. I'd treat him like my bitch.
I love it.
Do some
like femdom him.
Yeah, basically, I'd peg him.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to kill Sam. I love Sam. I know he's all the characters that George writes have.
Yeah, they're all
they're
shades
great.
of grey. No one's perfect,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I do love Sam much more than I love Jaehaerys. But I can't think of. I don't want to fuck him because I'm worried that he will smell so bad and then I'll get like cystitis.
So if all of them showered beforehand, does it change your answer? Like, gym shower.
Also, I have a picture in my mind of Sam having like a really like weird penis, a weird willy. I don't know why. Okay. There's something about it being named the Fat Pink Mast that
tells me he's girthy, and that's okay with me.
Really? Okay. No, I just think of it as like quite like a bit of a stubby, chubby stub, and also maybe it would be slightly red in colour and a bit disappointing and limp at times. So I don't know. I would have some good chats with him. I'd have a good cup of tea with Sam, and I'd be his best friend. But I have feelings about how I worry about how he'd smell. I have and also that his penis is going to be odd. And I think I say this as a proud queer non-binary person, but I think Jaehaerys would have a better penis. My studied opinion on it.
Alrighty.
My studied opinion of all the extensive research that I've done on Fire and Blood.
My thing is like
that Jaehaerys would have a better penis.
I could never desire, and this is like I'm demisexual too, but like I could never desire someone like Jaehaerys. That just his entire personality turns me right off. So I would have to kill him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Proudly I would kill Jaehaerys. And proudly I would fuck Sam. I just wish he would treat Gilly Billy better. Gilly better. Gilly Billy.
Yeah, I don't know. I've fucked some pretty hideous people in my life, so obviously I haven't got that problem. Such terrible personalities.
No, I'm Demi, and I can't. If I don't feel like I have any connection, I can't.
No, I would just totally dominate Jaehaerys. I'd get my whip out, and I'd teach him a fucking
though,
lesson.
I don't think that would be consensual.
No, I'd make him like it. I would teach him a lesson about being such a patriarchal bullshit, but I would not. I just I have my thing about smells is odd. Whenever anyone is on TV is kissing or anything like that, my first thought is, do they have good breath? I wonder if they smell weird. That's like literally one of the first things I always think of. It's one of the when the show in Game of Thrones when Jon and Ygritte are in the cave.
Yeah.
I'm just a bit like I just find off. I'm just like, oh my god, what do their crotches smell like?
I know, and I get it. It's a thing. I can see it. I would just make them.
I have a very sensitive gag reflex, so I would be like, ugh. I can't. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So yeah, there you go.
There we go.
I think
There we
we've...
go. I think we've answered that thoroughly.
Thoroughly. Indeed. So, now I hope Liz is happy with those answers. And we haven't scared anybody. People aren't like, oh, I think this is not the podcast for me. Let's turn that off quickly.
Yeah. Sorry. We
Sorry,
answer
everyone.
the questions we're given as honestly as possible.
Yeah. It's just the content we have. You know?
Liz has sent a wonderful little gift. I
haven't seen it yet.
I know. I meant to have you listen. It's a listen thing, and I meant to have you listen to it before we recorded.
Okay.
But it didn't happen because I brought it up and then we got talking as we do. Anyway.
We got sidetracked. Not like us to be sidetracked by anything.
I will make you listen to it later.
Yeah, do. We should go back to the story now, though.
Back to the story.
It's not a heavy chapter, and I'm quite glad.
And we're flying
last chapter
was
pretty
good.
Not heavy. It's not the chapter. Like the section of the chapter we're doing is not as heavy because last time it was fucking dark.
Yeah.
Dark horror, basically.
Listen, this chapter kicked off with the death of my beloved. It's pretty dark for me.
It's pretty dark. Sorry about that. But we go back to, for some reason we have to resume to 57 AC. This he's like we've jumped to 73 AC, then back to 57 AC, and then he talks about the kids as they grow up, and then it's like no, back to 57 AC again.
I know this maester's like all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah. When we say this maester, we mean George.
Yes.
We mean George R. R. Martin.
We do.
And if you remember Miles Smallwood by name, Smallwood by nature, we think, as discussed last time, that his house sigil is the acorn, so it doesn't look good for his penis shape or size.
Speaking
of, and we decided he's a bit of a jock, a bit of a, like, he's not got the most brain cells, has he?
He does not.
He's a very good fighter, but he's not the strongest tool in the box, and maybe doesn't even have a very big tool in his box.
He was made to sit a horse, not a cushion.
And I have a feeling that Jaehaerys and he had to sit down. I was just like, yeah. So you know how you keep thinking that anything that's on fire is because of a dragon? So we've decided, we've all talked, and we think it's best if you go back to Acorn Hall and stay there.
It's just not working out here.
It's just not working out. We've chatted.
We can tell you're unhappy. We're not happy.
It's not you, it's us.
Or like we just don't think you're fully satisfied and fulfilling, and this job is as fulfilling for you as it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, we think you'd get more out of it if you weren't here. Mm-hmm. I'm at a stage in my life as a king where I just need something else, and that something else is not you. So goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Jaehaerys is like, can we not spend fucking ages going through every person? I know who I want, and that person to be the new hand is Septon Barth. And people are like, oh no, but he comes from poor people. Ugh, ugh. You know, their gag reflexes were triggered at that point because his father was a blacksmith. I feel like. Yeah. There's such a Jesus-iness about this guy, you know, like hot priest. His father, I was about to say his father was a carpenter because I knew it was like that, but that's like that is literally Jesus's life. And I feel like
he rode in on a donkey.
He literally rode in on a donkey to King's Landing. So I wonder why George is like, he's very much setting up Septon Barth as almost messianic. You know, he has the answers. He knows about,
and I think that's
dragons.
You just hit the nail on the head there. I think that's the point. Is we are supposed to look at this book and be like, unfortunately, in this, you know, it's very like Christ forward, like Christ is all good and whatever. But and of course that's not necessarily my religious view. But George is definitely supposed to be. He is being like, pay attention to this one. Yeah. He's the good one. Which, I mean, to be fair, I just said that I'm not religious and stuff, but like probably Jesus Christ, the actual Jesus Christ, was a pretty good dude. So just for clarity.
I think Septon Barth obviously writes books. He's very knowledgeable and he knows a lot about the dragons, and the dragons are, you know, always said to be close to gods.
Yes.
Which I feel like there's definite And I hope no one finds it... I'm not intending anything that I'm saying to be offensive to Christians at all, because I'm not. I'm a live and let live, believe what you want to believe person. Like, just as long as you're not hurting anyone else, do what you want to do. Yeah, I think that there's definite inference that Septon Barth is not just... There's not just a kind of like, ding, 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 listen to this guy, but it's also, this guy is special in some way. Mm-hmm. There's just these things that it's not just listen to him, but he is knowledgeable, and it's not just any knowledge, it's like really important knowledge, more than... I'm trying to think of other characters who are kind of treated this way, like, as in, listen to this person knows what they're talking about, this person is important, and I can't...
Like in the realm of A Song of Ice and Fire?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. And the only person I think come in my head, just having thought about it for about 3 seconds, is maybe Maester Aemon.
That's what I was going to say.
You know, who is a similarly wise, although his father is not a blacksmith or a carpenter. But
his brothers are. Like, he gets into that sort of same, like, where he steps down from... You know, he is elite, but also isn't elite. He sort of fits in that same realm as Barth. Like, he rolls with the elite. He was born elite, but also stepped down to not be one of them. So he kind of fits that same place where he moves between realms. Yeah, moves between classes.
Yeah. We're moving into sort of slightly spoilery things there, but I just think it's important to think, like, that there's a few people who George is signalling big time. This person's information is really important.
Yes, pay attention to what this person has to say.
And that is definitely Barth.
Yes.
And Jaehaerys doesn't give a shit. He's like, about whether his father is a blacksmith. He says, if his father beat out swords and shod horses, so be it. A knight needs his sword, a horse needs its shoes, and I need Barth.
Good.
I need a Barth. A Barth. And so he didn't stick around very long. He immediately went off to Braavos.
Yep, he was off on hand duties.
And went to chat with the Sea Lord, who is the ruler of Braavos. Kind of like that's not the king, but like the ruling person in Braavos is the Sea Lord.
Yeah.
Which is is that an elected position? I want to say.
I believe so.
But they serve till they die, right? And then they elect another one.
Yes.
And then also chat to the Iron Bank of Braavos. Mm-hmm. Have we talked much? I can't think if we've talked. There have been mentions of the Iron Bank.
Yeah. Yeah, because Jaehaerys had to borrow from them before.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're like Farman.
Yes, sold her or potentially gave the eggs to them or left them there, or the money that she got from selling
definitely
them in the bank.
Which is pretty much why Barth is headed there.
And he takes Sir Giles Morrigan, the Kingsguard, and 6 guardsmen. But only Septon Barth was in the discussions. It was just him. He was the King's envoy at that point. And it's interesting. The purpose of his mission was a grave one, war or peace. And when I was reading this again, I was like, what do you mean? They're not at war. And then I realised that, like, because I feel like it comes out of left field.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I feel like they had kind of given up on the idea of, you know, finding out where the eggs had gone and retrieving them. And then it kind of means that underneath it all, simmering all this time, Jaehaerys has been like, we need to fucking get those guys. We're going to fucking get them. I know they've got my fucking eggs. I know that they've got the money from my fucking eggs.
I think that...
Where are my eggs?
The Rhaena stuff took away so much from that story. Like, it diverted us so much from the eggs. But they did, even in the last section that we covered, they talked about the fact that Alyssa Farman was collecting people in Old Town for her ships, and that she was like right under the king's nose, and he did try and catch her then. So obviously this is still on his mind enough to send his new hand over to try and sort it all out. Yeah but war or peace, it's just very strong. It's very strong. Yes, agreed.
Coming out strong there.
Yeah.
And obviously Jaehaerys didn't go himself. He sent Barth because there's a history of Valyria and Braavos and the Dragon Lords. There is, if people don't know about it, Braavos was founded by former slaves of Valyria. Mm-hmm. They escaped and found found a city that basically no one had found before. It's very foggy. It's kind of hidden. No one had really found it before. And they hid in there and didn't even declare themselves for like a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And then kind of came out like, hey guys, we were here the whole time. But the whole idea, like, Braavos is one of the few places, I think it's the only place in Essos where slavery is banned, right?
Yes, it might be.
Potentially, yeah. Like, it's very
because it was
anti-slavery. Because it was founded by people who had escaped slavery caused by Valyria and the Dragon Lords specifically of Valyria, which we'll get into more in this section, because this is some of the interesting stuff that I made me go ooh while reading this section. So obviously there's history there. They've got beef. So Jaehaerys is like, I'll not go, Barth, you can go as my hand and represent me, because, you know, let's not put salt in the wound.
Yeah.
You know. So he did say that he would go, and if Barth couldn't fix it, he'd fly over on Vermithor. But you didn't actually have to. I like that the Sea Lord is like, what? What are you here for? I don't even understand. Pulling an innocent face.
Yeah.
Shaggy, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Like,
I admit to nothing. If I was in possession of such eggs, however, it could be only because I purchased them.
From a thief, says Barth.
He's like, I don't give a fuck. I bought them. I paid for them. I don't care where they got them from. It's like, do you ask where the person who brings you your meat gets it? No.
Yeah. And he says, how shall it be proved? Has this thief been seized, tried, found guilty? Braavos is a city of laws. Who is the rightful owner of these eggs? Can they show me proof of ownership?
Yes.
And he's like, the king can show you proof of dragons.
Which is very un-Barth to say.
Yeah, it is.
And I think, and maybe
aggressive.
It does get aggressive, but I kind of wonder if Barth meant there are no other living people with dragons.
Yeah.
So
basically
they have to have come from him. That's the validity, but it definitely seems like a threat. Yes.
Yeah. It's got a double meaning. He's clever like that, isn't he?
He is. It doesn't pay off well for him though.
Yeah. There's this amazing reply from the Sea Lord though, who's like, yeah, that's a veiled threat. And he kind of assesses Jaehaerys and says, oh, he's stronger than his father and more subtle than his uncle. So obviously he's talking about Aenys and Maegor. And he's like, yeah, I know what Jaehaerys could do to us if he chose. Referring to, he could burn us to the ground.
Yeah.
And the Braavosi have a long memory, he says, and we remember the Dragon Lords of old. There are certain other things that we might do to your king as well, however. Shall I enumerate, or do you prefer the threat veiled? And I love this bit. I live for this shit.
Yeah.
This is good.
I love it. I think it's also like, it's a good example of just like conversations between very different types of men. The Sea Lord of Braavos is a lot like Jaehaerys, I think, and they are both very cunning people.
Yes.
But Barth puts out a threat, but he's not cunning enough to be able to make that elaborate, like in a way that the Sea Lord wouldn't already see it and understand it and already have a counter to it, right? Like that's just, Barth is a very intelligent man, but he's not. This is not the type of place where he's like his capabilities shine so much. No. You know.
And of course, you might, if you've not read this before, you might be thinking, well, how is the Sea Lord threatening Jaehaerys with anything? Jaehaerys has dragons.
Yeah.
So, and the Sea Lord's saying, yeah, but we could do something to your king too. What's worse than dragons?
Everybody has ways.
Everybody has ways. And of course, if you don't know, Braavos has something very special there. We'll go on to it. So he enumerates a bit. He talks about it. He's like, so your king could burn my city down to ash. Tens of thousands would die in dragon flame. I do not have the power to wreak that sort of destruction upon Westeros. And he's basically like, I could hire swords, but they'd run away, and if we fought you in a war on ships, that'd be great, but wood burns, you'd burn us, whatever. And what he says is, however, there is in this city a certain guild, let us say, whose members are very skilled at their chosen profession. They could not destroy King's Landing, nor fill its streets with corpses, but they could kill a few, a well-chosen few. And he's just like, drop the mic.
Yeah.
And he's talking about that certain guild. I don't think he names them, but we might know what it is. It's the Faceless Men.
It is.
It is the Faceless Men, who are a guild of assassins who can change their faces and are very, very, very good at killing people.
They are. I feel like they've come up already in the story, haven't they?
I think they may have done. I don't think we've talked very much about them.
No, but I think they came up, even early in the...
Yeah. But they are obviously... He's talking here about, I can't do war, but I could send someone in who would get into your...
Yeah, nobody is untouchable.
No, I'd get in somehow, and I would essentially be able to murder the whole royal family.
Yeah, yep.
You know?
Yep.
If you burn me to the ground, I can get you.
Mm-hmm.
And Barth is like, yeah, but the king's protected by the King's Guard. It's like, yeah. And this bit's very threatening. It's like,
yes.
Yeah, he's protected by knights, such as the man who waits for you outside, if indeed he is still waiting. What would you say if I were to tell you that Sir Giles is already dead? And so Septon Barth's like, say what?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what? So he starts to like get up and go out, and the seal's like, nah. You don't need to rush away. I said, what if? I did consider it. They are most skilled, as I said. Had I done so, however, you might have acted unwisely, and many more good people might have died. That is not my desire. Threats make me uncomfortable.
Threats make me uncomfortable, please.
Yeah. Sure. You've just literally threatened him.
Do you think that they did kill Sir Giles and put a faceless man in his place?
Oh my god. That would be so weird. And I didn't even read it like that. I just thought he was basically saying I could have anyone killed at any given time. And now I'm like, yes, he is saying that he could have Sir Giles killed and then have a faceless man put on his face.
Yeah, and they would just that Jaehaerys doesn't know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Or Jaehaerys. I mean, Barth wouldn't know.
I mean, even the threat that I thought it was, which was basically like, I can kill anyone at any time because these people will do what I want.
Yeah.
It's really threatening.
It's
like,
menacing.
It gives me a bit goosebumpy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I think that it's possible that they did. They already did. They already infiltrated to keep an eye on this Valyrian ruler across the Narrow Sea.
Really? But it wouldn't be. I think he's giving an example of Sir Giles Morgan. So who do you think is already in there?
I think it's Sir Giles. I think that's what they did. I think he pretty much confessed to it. And then he's like, "No, I'm just kidding, because you'll never notice the truth anyway."
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's your proof that it's Sir Giles?
Just his line. I don't have any proof. I said I think. But
what do other people think? What do listeners think? Do you think that there is a secret faceless man in King's Landing?
Yeah.
Do you think they always have a faceless man? Is there just constantly...
I think that this trade and the fact that Barth came over in the first place and made this threat was the Sea Lord going, nah. And he's like, okay, I'm going to have some insurance, and this insurance is going to be Sir Giles. Because what if I were to tell you that Sir Giles is dead already? Yeah. Yeah, God. Just kidding.
Just joking. Not joking.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Or am I? Oh, no, I'm really joking. Yeah. Or am I?
Or am
just
I?
Joking. Or am I?
LOL. Live, laugh, love.
LOL. Yeah. Ruffle. Or am I? But he's like, you're warriors. We're traders. Let's trade. So they sit down and negotiate.
And I think and that's the other thing. I think he trades because he's already paid. The price has already been paid. We want a spy within your crew.
Yeah.
I have these eggs. I need to make sure no one's coming for them. Now we can talk business. And Barth did a good job. He did a good bartering there.
But the conversation was so bizarre.
It was so bizarre.
It was like, the chicken flies at midnight. Have landed over St. Petersburg. What? I don't have the eggs. If I did have them, well, until they hatch, they're just stones. Would you begrudge me some pretty stones? Now, if I had 3... chickens, I might understand his concern. It's just like, oh my god, can you just all... Like, we all know you're talking about... We all know you have the eggs. Can we just stop talking about stones and chickens? Yeah. If I had chickens, that would be a different question. At the moment, I've just got some pretty stones. And maybe that was the original translation of a certain prophecy. But it's like, they shall wake chickens from stones.
Yes. The chicken that was promised.
But yeah, no, you're right. He did do some good bargaining though, and didn't come back with any dragon's eggs. But what did he come back with?
All the debts all the debts erased from the Iron Bank. They have a clean credit score.
Yeah. So that basically the debt to the Iron Throne. So they only, which is crazy that only cut the whole of the crown's debts in half. Like, fuck,
yeah,
they are so in debt.
Yeah.
All at the cost of 3 stones. And Jaehaerys, I feel like this section of this chapter is just very out of character. I feel like it's suddenly, like I said, I feel like it's come out of left field. It's suddenly become very threatening from nowhere about these eggs.
Yeah.
And then Jaehaerys is like, oh, the Sea Lord had better hope they remain stones, because if I hear so much of a whisper of ... chickens, his palace will be the first to burn. Can we just call them dragons? Stop calling them fucking chickens.
I think Jaehaerys is, there's two things here. Like, I think Jaehaerys is like, oh, like, I didn't go, and maybe I should have gone. But he's like, he doesn't like to feel outwitted. You know, he's prideful, and he knows that
his pride is hurt.
He knows that Braavos has this one up on him, and he knows that the dragons are the seed to their power.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that there's no more talk of chickens anywhere. You know.
Yeah, not for some time anyway.
Not for some time.
Har har. Spoilers.
Har 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 har. Yeah, but it does help. Like, even though the crown's debts have only been cut in half, it massively opens up what they can do. And if you remember, the Master of Coin is Rego Draz.
Yep.
He checking out the books, and can now actually use money that would have gone to the Iron Bank of Braavos and put it into further improvements to King's Landing, which is nice for the King's Landingers.
Yep.
Sorted out some of the streets, and straightened them and widened them and put cobblestones when there would have been mud. But he also put out plans for drains and sewers.
He did.
So that the offal and night soil can go into the river, which is unfortunately what's happening in the UK right now. There's a lot of sewage going into the rivers.
Lucky.
I know, right?
I mean, maybe better than it being on the sidewalk, but maybe not for
the
fish.
Yeah.
Not for the fish.
Or the people who, if you go swimming in it.
Yeah, don't swim in it. Don't
swim in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like, makes you wonder what King, as I've confessed my thing about smells, like, King's Landing must absolutely stink.
I know.
Gross.
Just in like there's old timey London too, right? I'm
I'm
reading.
God, yeah.
You know this. I'm doing a little project on Jack the Ripper, and I'm just like, oh god, the smell.
Yeah, the smells. Also, I really hate the word night soil. Can we just ban that word? I don't know why I hate it so much.
I think I much
really
prefer
do.
I'd soil to like flows of shit running down the street. Like, I don't know.
But the word night soil, I'm sorry, but it just makes it sound like you've shat the bed. Oh, this is my night soil. This is my soil that I did in the night.
It reminds me more of like a bad superhero name.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm night soil.
Of the night
to the
soil.
rescue.
Yeah, I don't know.
I am the night soil. How gross.
How gross.
But there was a more important issue to fix, because the drinking water is disgusting, and it only got worse because of the sewage going into the Blackwater Bay.
Yes. And this is where Alysanne is good.
This is where she's just like,
good.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, queen.
The rest of this chapter for her it's good. She does good.
She does good.
Yeah. Oh, you think it's okay for the poor folk to drink the water? Here.
Yeah. Yeah, because the water was just really disgusting.
Yeah.
And very similar to, again, Victorian London, where the water was, the Thames is now one of the cleanest rivers in the world.
Good.
But at the time, basically it's where everyone would put their shit and piss. Yeah. And it was very dirty, and it was full of cholera. And it was thanks to some people who, I can't remember the name. Was it Lister? I can't remember. Who basically discovered cholera and was like, it's in the water, stop drinking the water, let's put proper pipes in and pumps and stuff. And this is essentially what's happening in King's Landing. But it was going to be expensive. It was a classic political hilarity where
where do we
they're
put
like,
the money?
but it's going to cost us so much money. Do we have to? And Alysanne, as you said, turns up with a glass of water. It's like, drink that then.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, it was Jaehaerys and Bennifer wasn't it? Oh no, Rhaego Draz.
Yeah.
Rhaego Draz and Jaehaerys were like, it's expensive. And it was Barth and Alysanne who were like, no.
I love that. She served them a tankard of the river water at the next council meeting. So she's like, I'll be your cupbearer today.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy this lovely drink I've made for you.
Yeah.
I fashioned for you.
Yeah. Just try and avoid the human feces floating in it. And,
oh, God. Oh,
yeah, no, exactly. Ugh. So it took a little while, but they made lots of pipes and wells, and they were called the Queen's Fountains, so that the King's Landers could have clean water. It's so weird to me that it took 57 years for anyone to be like, should we do this thing? Like, obviously they knew about pumps and wells and the technology for it. So why is it taken 50 years for someone to be like, let's put some wells and water pumps in?
Yeah, I think at first, like, they talk about it from Aegon's conquest, but like Aegon, the city didn't blow up, right? Like, it blew up very quickly.
Yeah.
And they said that early on, like, it was even before the Red Keep could be built effectively. Like, it was just a small fortress. Like, it wasn't great in the planning. There was never really any city planning. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to put a city down. Let's lay these foundations first. That's not what happened with King's Landing.
No, I know, but it just, at no point has anyone said, has anyone noticed that the water's shit? I mean, I suppose they were busy fighting wars and all that bollocks.
That's what I was going to say. And then after Aegon, there was, the wars with major crap. So it took a long time for things to settle down.
Maegor crap.
Maegor crap. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They hadn't done a world progress around Westeros for quite a while. So 58 AC, there were plans for Jaehaerys and Alysanne to go to Winterfell and the north. They would take their dragons with them. But obviously the roads are bad, and beyond the neck, like, the distances between towns and villages are massive.
Yes.
Jaehaerys is like, I am bored of waiting. Getting to a castle, having to wait for my servants. Ugh. So they decided they'd send people on first.
Yeah.
This time, their retinue would arrive, and then they would join them on their dragons. And the first stop was going to be White Harbour, which is clues in the name. It's on a harbour. Duh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Coastal, which makes sense because if you're taking a boat.
Indeed.
Easiest way.
It's like at the opening. Is it the White Knife? Is that what that river's called?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, and that river goes far into the north.
Yes.
So you can kind of keep going up it, I guess.
You can. Yeah.
And reach other places, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, the best laid plans don't always happen.
They don't pan out. Yep.
They don't pan out.
This part always confuses me. I wonder if it's just like a plot device just to keep Jaehaerys back and have Alysanne do her thing. Obviously,
I agree.
It's part of it, but because it says he was called to deal with some shit from Pentos and Tyrosh, but he's never really had to deal with shit from Pentos and Tyrosh before. So to me, that was very out of left field.
Again, it was like, I need to keep Jaehaerys back for a bit, so let's find a reason. I'm fine, whatever. There's a problem with Pentos and Tyrosh. They've been at war for years, and they wanted the king's help
to mediate.
And they wanted to do it in King's Landing, so it was a neutral space, basically. But I agree. I'm like, George just needed a reason to keep Jaehaerys back. I don't really know why, but maybe just to show Alysanne going off doing her thing.
Yeah, I don't really know why either. It doesn't, even when you, like, we're not going to cover all of it today. We're just going to cover a bit of a little dabble in the north. But even like when we'll talk about it again when we do cover it, but it doesn't seem like it was really necessary that he.
No, I don't feel like the addition of Jaehaerys would ruin anything particularly. But but we'll get to it when we get there, and we'll see. Well, maybe when we're more in that section next time, we'll assess it properly and wonder what would have been different. Something to think about. So he stays behind. And Alysanne goes off to White Harbour, which is the place where House Manderly are the lords.
Yes,
the overlords.
I just wanted, before we jump to that, at first they thought maybe no one should go to the north because of the progress, to postpone it for now. Mm-hmm. But there was concern that the notoriously pricky. I'm good. My dyslexia is like blah blah blah. That the notoriously prickly Lord of Winterfell might take that for a slight. So it's like postponing the royal progress because major business has come your way is bad, and it will prickle the Lord of Winterfell. That's interesting. I think anytime we hear like Winterfell and the Lord of Winterfell, our ears kind of perk up reading this book because it's so King's Landing centric. So it's like, Lord of Winterfell. Anyway, so that's why Alysanne went alone, because they didn't want to prickle the Lord of Winterfell.
Yeah, I think we just need to take note that he's a prickly. There's something about him that we're like, okay, this guy needs placating in some way. Yeah,
apparently. Or they believe so anyway. They don't.
Yeah.
But I think we'll talk more about this next time, but I think it's just more cultural differences. He's frank and curt, and he doesn't sugarcoat anything. So he's not courtly.
He's northern.
Yes.
He's northern.
Exactly. He's not courtly.
He says it like it is.
He does.
But so Alysanne travels to White Harbour first. Mm-hmm. As I said, it's the seat of House Manderly. It's the first time anyone around there had ever seen a dragon.
Yes.
And people apparently... I mean, I enjoy it when they write, the streets was full of small folk. And I imagine they were if they wanted to see a dragon.
Yeah, I think so.
But I also kind of laugh, and I just think, like, did they have to come out on the threat of, like, if you don't get out there and cheer the Queen, I'll chop your fucking...
I doubt it in this case, because it's so, like they said, they've never seen a dragon. These things are so incredibly rare in the world. It's like when people here are like, oh my god, the Northern Lights, and people will wake up at 1 a.m. to go out and see the Northern Lights because it's so rare that we get to see them.
Yeah.
I feel like it's similar.
Definitely. And we get a little bit of Manderly history, because the Manderlys are quite unique in the north. That they didn't originate in the north. They're not an originally northern family. That's like house and family.
Yeah.
They actually came from the Reach originally. Obviously, the River Manderly.
Yes.
They were driven out of the Reach by the Gardeners and House Peak. Boo. Don't like House Peak.
You'll see why we boo them more later.
Yeah. If you don't know the story, you'll be booing them soon eventually too.
Yeah.
But House Peak drove them out. They were like, apparently the House Peak and House Manderly were like rivals, which makes me like House Manderly even more. You know, if you're the direct rival to House Peak, then you're fine by me.
Yep.
And so they came up from the south and were given kind of a safe space. They were gifted White Harbour by House Stark, who were the kings in the north. And so ever since then, like, Manderlys are like famously really loyal to House Stark. Yeah, like super loyal, because they gave them safety when they were driven from their homes.
They had nothing necessarily to gain from it. They actually gave them what used to be the House Stark's second seat. So they gave them the Wolf's Den.
They gave them the Wolf's
so
Den.
if the heir got Winterfell, the spare got the Wolf's Den for the Starks.
Yeah. And so it's a pretty amazing boon of them to do.
Yeah.
And fairly uniquely, out of all of the northern houses, the Manderlys keep the religion of the Seven. They didn't start worshipping the old gods like they do in the north. They kept the Seven and like traditions of knighthood. So there's not very many northern knights except for Manderlys, really. Mm-hmm. And I find them a really interesting house. I quite like the Manderlys.
Yeah,
I like them.
I do too. Even more in the spoilery stuff.
And their sigil is a merman, which I like too.
I know, me too. I have a mermaid tattoo on my back.
Nice.
So I like that they're a merman. Yeah.
What's interesting as well is we actually don't know the house words of House Manderly.
Odd, interesting.
Yeah, they're never in the books.
Do you think that they would have changed them when they went north? Because maybe they didn't suit them anymore?
Possibly. Yeah. But we have no idea. I imagine that they maybe did.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's something... I think George keeps out... Like, he's very open about house words. And he's not even released them in, like, the World of Ice and Fire or anything like that. No. So I'm wondering if they're important in some way to the story. There's a couple of other houses who we don't know their house words. And I presume it's because if we knew them, it might be a clue to what might happen.
Be a clue to the purpose of them for later on.
Yeah. So, which is, I guess my goosebumps. I get excited about it. So I'm wondering if the House Manderly are similar. But anyway, we're moving into, that's further down the line.
It is.
But they're definitely a house to keep an eye on. For sure. And so it's Lord Theomore Manderly is the head of the household. And Alysanne, he's got a really big family.
does.
I think of them as quite a lusty family. They have lots of children.
They're just happy. They're a happy crew.
People.
Yeah.
And so Alysanne's like, yeah, cool, let's arrange them. She like walks in the door and is like, I'm going to arrange some marriages right now.
I know.
Let's do this.
Yes, let's do this. Yeah. It's so like, oh, how do I write a girl? Matchmaking.
I know. I mean, it is an important job because it's how they forge alliances.
Yes.
And actually, it's way more important than the maesters give credit to. They're just a bit like, oh yeah, she's just a girly girl who just wanted to like, you know, matchmake some guys up. But actually, it's like, no. This is how they create alliances. Alysanne doing it is a massive, like the Queen arranging your marriage is.
Oh yes, it's big. Yeah,
it's big. Like this is, and so it's not just that the Queen's arranged your marriage. It's that you have an alliance to this house, and let's forge this, and it's the fact that the Queen's done it, and it's a big deal.
It's also a big deal because she marries some of her ladies in waiting to the lordship's younger sons and a nephew. So it's like her. So, but it's also maybe a big example of Southerners marrying Northerners, which is maybe new to the story.
Possibly, yeah, exactly. Point. And I think that's a really big deal to marry ladies in waiting to the Queen. And then, of course, because she had married them off, she took on some of, I think, his daughter and some nieces, some of Lord Manderly's family, as her ladies in waiting now. Like,
yes. His eldest daughter and 3 nieces. Yeah.
And I think what annoys me is that the maester writes that this is just a nice girly girl thing to do. And it's like, no, this is actually important diplomacy. And if Alysanne wasn't doing this, then they wouldn't have as much of a stronghold, or their rule would be less. Like if you think like in House of the Dragon, for example, Jaehaerys doesn't do any of this stuff. He barely ever leads King's Landing, and the realm is poorer for it. You know, Alysanne's like, no, I'm going to go. We're going to make sure this has happened. Let's not offend Lord Stark. And I'm going to go and I'm going to make some matches, and it's a big deal. Like, this is a big part of like life in those days.
It is.
Lord Manderly entertains the Queen. They have a whole aurochs. Aurochs? I don't know how to pronounce that.
I say aurochs.
Do you?
Aurochs.
But I think I say aurochs. But now I don't know. I've thought about it too hard. I don't know what I say, but it's basically like a massive, like, fucking bull, isn't it? Like a whole beast.
It's like a big,
It's basically a roasted beast.
Yep.
And then his lordship's daughter, Jessamine, which is a name I like. Jessamine, I like that. Yeah. She was the Queen's cupbearer, and then filling her. I like this. This is why I like Alysanne, because they gave her strong northern ale that the Queen was like, yeah, this is better than any wine I've ever had. So she might have been exaggerating a bit.
I was going to say that can also just be diplomacy. Yeah. Oh yes, this is better than anything I've ever had.
But honestly, I just like the idea of
it does
Alysanne,
seem
like,
genuine.
quaffing ale. Like, pour me another one. Ale! And well met. And then they had a little tourney as well. You get just a little random detail.
I like this little bit.
And I like it. Do you wanna,
and maybe this is why they held Jaehaerys back. Maybe this was George's point, and it was just a little moment for some of the women to shine without a man's presence. Maybe this is why.
Because they had, in this little tourney, they had one of the fighters revealed to be a wildling girl that had been captured by rangers north of the wall. Have we heard about wildlings yet? This is the first mention of wildlings.
I think this might be the first.
So wildlings were people who are on basically the wrong side of the wall. The wall goes up, and they were also first men, just like the people who live in the north. Yeah,
most of them.
But they stayed on the other side of the wall, and they don't have lords, and
the laws are different.
And things like that, and
so they have a very different culture.
Very different culture. We like the wildling culture.
We do.
And so it's interesting that we get a first mention of a wildling girl that's been captured. That's one of the reasons why the Night Watch exists, is to stop wildlings from coming in to the realm, because what they often do is pillage.
But it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be, but we'll not go into that just yet. But that is one of the reasons why they exist, and they spend a lot of time fighting wildlings because they come in and they steal, but they also trade. It's interesting. It's like we'll allow wildlings to do this, and we'll trade with you a bit.
It's very Rome.
It is. It's very much that.
Yes. And yes, so this wildling girl comes in. And actually, I think it's talked about in the World Book that a lot of the wildlings come in through White Harbor because they will sail and kind of come into White Harbor.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably come from Eastwatch or something like that.
Yeah.
But she was very good, the fighter.
She was a good fighter.
And Alysanne fucking loved it. She was delighted by the girl's daring and summoned Jonquil Dark, her own...
Sworn shield,
exactly. Thank you. Couldn't remember the words there. And the wildling girl, which we don't find out her name, do we?
I know, and we also don't find out who wins, but they had a little duel. No. Spear against sword, while the northern men roared in approval.
Yay. I think that sounds like... I don't like fighting at all. I'm a massive pacifist. And I would absolutely hate to have lived in medieval society where I'd have had to have watched fighting as entertainment, but I would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think I would have too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hard sometimes when you're watching something and you're like, I want both of you to win.
Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to win over the other ones. I want, can you both win somehow, please?
Yeah. And I love you both.
Yes. And then the Queen had one of her women's courts in Lord Manderly's own hall, which had never happened in the North before. They'd never allowed women to gather. No women gathering.
Yeah.
More than any gathering of more than 3 women must be a coven, and they must be witches. But more than 200 women and girls turned up to talk about it. And I'm like, is this the first time in the North that patriarchy is being addressed? Like it just makes you realise that
I don't even know if it's patriarchy, but it's personhood.
Yeah, just the fact that
women as people.
Women are allowed to gather together and talk about shit. For the first time in Westerosi history in the North. Like, wow, okay. It just really gives you pause of like how bad the sexism actually is when you think there's never been a gathering of women like this.
Like this, but to be fair, even in the South, Alysanne also started...
Exactly, but I'm just saying it's like they've just never...
Yeah.
It's the first time in the North too. It's just
you mean women would want to get together and talk about their shared experiences? Weird. Who would want to do that?
Yeah, and I think that it answers why we've been wondering often if there was a Maester's chain piece for women's health, and I think...
I don't think we wonder. I think we know the answer to that is no. Yeah.
It's like, we don't know what to do with women's health. Sorry. We can make you moon tea.
Just like now.
Yeah, basically. That's it. We really don't know what we're doing. And it might also, the moon tea, we can make that for you, but it might also make you very sick or never have children again, potentially.
Yeah. Or kill you.
Or kill you. It's pretty fucked up, really, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. And it's a very good analogy for why it's very important to hear all people of all genders' voices and give them a seat at the table, people, because this is why people die. It's because their voices weren't heard.
Exactly.
So, all genders, all ethnicities, everybody gets a seat at the table. Thanks, George.
Well said. Yes.
There we go.
There we go.
But that's basically where we will leave. We'll leave it there on that lovely positive note of being able to get people together.
Female empowerment.
Yeah, empowerment.
Yes.
Empower
Girl
to the
power.
people. Yeah. Yay! I think that might be the first time we've ever finished a section in a positive place.
That's probably true.
I'm like, I don't remember a time when it's not been like, and that is how that year ended when everyone died.
Yeah. This terrible thing just happened. And goodbye for now. We'll see you next time. Yeah.
I know. I think that might be the only time.
Maybe in part of our merch we should do like upper stickers. Antidepressant things for the shit that we have to talk about.
Yeah, sorry guys. It's not us, it's the content. George did it.
Yes. Yeah. We're just the sickos who enjoy it and talk about it.
In extreme depth.
Yes.
But that is where we'll leave it. And we will finish this chapter, we promise you, next time. Honest to goodness.
It's a big chapter. I think we've broken it. It'll be 4 pieces, this chapter for us.
This will be 4 pieces. But the reason why we didn't want to go any further is also because the next part of it is, like, I really want to be able to talk about that for basically, like, 4 hours like, without stopping.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, we don't have time, because there's some really big stuff coming up.
We don't want to rush it. I'll smile and nod, and Steph will be like, "Biddy, biddy, 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 dragons." I'm so
yeah, it's just me. It's just me that cares about it. Because you don't care about this shit.
No, so. I meant that you said you would talk about it you want to talk about it for 4 hours straight.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about it for 4 hours straight. Yeah. You're not allowed to interrupt. It's just me talking.
I do like the next part a lot. It's a big part in the book. It's fun.
It's big. It's lots of lore coming up, and I'm very, 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 very excited about it.
Yes.
So I know Sanri would be like, oh, I want to be on this episode too.
Yes.
She's a dragon lover too. But if you don't want any spoilers, this is where you should say goodbye and join us next time for another awesome episode coming to you from north of the wall. The sun is actually shining on me right now. It was very cold when this started, and now the sun is shining on my face, and it's very, very hot on my face. So
kissed by fire.
Literally kissed by the fire coming from the sun.
Yeah.
We do get sun north of the wall from time to time. So.
From time to time when we're lucky.
From time to time.
The wall would be weeping. Yeah. All right. But, well, if you don't want to join us for spoilers and speculations, then jump off now, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. Let's go into the spoiler section, shall we?
Spoilers. Do you have lots?
I have a few. I'm going to actually, why don't I look at the actual spoilers I've written down instead of staring into space? That would help. Do you have many?
I do not. I have like 2.
Okay. Do you want to do yours, seeing as you've only got 2?
Sure. I guess so. Mine come later in the chapter. Like, do you have any from earlier in the chapter?
I do.
You start then. We'll be chronological all the way.
Well, good. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I thought making Rhaena, this is just a little one. I've got quite a few little ones, really. Making Rhaena take a husband reminds me very much of, as we saw in the show, but also in Aswath, Alysanne and Cersei being basically made to remarry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Why don't we?
I think it shows you that really a lot of women, especially when they've been around the Westerosi wedding market, the marriage market once before, they're not really that into it. For a second, they're not like, nah, I'm good. Actually, thank you. I've done this once. I've been married off like a broodmare.
Exactly. We talked about it. I think it was during when we were covering Hot D. We talked about the empowerment in women in widowhood. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And how, for Rhaena especially, because she's queer and she does not want to deal with men anymore. But But just for most women, there is something about widowhood that is, at that stage. Or that this type of life, feudal systems, where being a widow is more empowering than being married. Yeah,
but it's definitely definitely a thing that comes up quite a bit, and it just gave me Cersei vibes, being told, "Oh, you need to why don't you remarry?"
Big time. But my favorite, I think, part, and actually this is maybe a nod to a Game of Thrones, the TV show, is how in Game of Thrones they sort of touch on the idea of Tywin remarrying. Olenna says, "You never remarried," or something like that. And it's like this bit with Rhaena when she said "fuck that shit" was very much Tywin-esque, saying like, or not. He didn't really even acknowledge it, but just like, you never remarried, and just the she was able to hold the power in that situation. Where before, when she married Farman, she did so because she had no power in who she was going to marry. She was going to marry either way. So it was a little bit of sort of retribution for her, a little bit of revenge on that, and just saying like, fuck that, no.
Yeah, no, I've done it twice. I'm not doing it ever again.
No.
Just to warn you, I think my children are back from school, so if there's background noise, that is them.
I can only apologize. I've had tons of background noise this episode because I'm in a new recording space, and the kids were leaving for school, and my husband has a cold, so I'm sure you could hear the nose blowing at some point.
Oh, no. There's something about, like, I don't mean to be rude to, and I'm sure it's hashtag not all men, but there's something about when guys blow their nose and sneeze. It's like, I don't know. I feel like the house is going to fall down.
Just, I know, there is something very violent about
like,
it.
What just happened right now?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure I have
sometimes mine will sneeze and it'll take me by surprise, and I'll be like,
a surprise sneeze. I do quite like a surprise sneeze. Anyway, my next little spoilery bit was so it's very small, but I think this is really important, and it's something that comes up quite often, and something that really bothers me that people quote it regularly. So the bit that is quoted regularly is there's a bit in the World of Ice and Fire where the Maester, I think it's the same Maester, right, who's written this, isn't it? Who writes A World of Ice and Fire? Is this Maester Yandel? No, Gildane. Who's this Maester? Maester Gildane.
I don't remember.
Yandel did something else.
Yandel did the World Book, didn't he?
So this is Archmaester Gildane who did this one. So yeah, but isn't the World Book... Anyway, whoever did the World Book,
A
World of Ice and Fire, says that it talks about culture and talks about guest right, and says that basically people in the South don't really care about guest right.
I know, yeah. I knew you were going to bring this up.
Yeah.
The Harrenhal stuff.
And I genuinely think that, A World of Ice and Fire is propaganda. Yes. That is a propaganda book.
Yeah.
That is meant to please the Lannisters, essentially.
Yeah.
And therefore it is a way of absolutely excusing
the Red Wedding.
The Red Wedding. Essentially, it's not as big in the South. It's like, it fucking is. It comes up so many times.
All the time.
In so many characters about, how essentially it basically destroys Westeros. Because if you can't, the whole of Westerosi culture falls apart after the Red Wedding.
Yeah. Because
if you can't trust that you're gonna not be murdered at a wedding, that you have guest right, that these are the law, this is literally the law of the land.
Yeah.
And people start doing, essentially, there's so many occasions where it comes up in other parts in the South where people are like, well, we don't really have to do that anymore. If the Lannisters can murder people at the wedding, then why do we have to look after our own guests? Yeah. It's important, and it even comes here. So Rhaena is in Harrenhal, and even she doesn't want to see people, but she will give bread and salt and ensure guest right. And that's in the Riverlands, that is the South. Mm-hmm. It is a place where it's like, this is important. You have guest right. You'll be protected under my roof. I don't want to see you, bitch, because I'm in my goblin era. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And maybe Rhaena was the original goblin girl. I don't know. And she just wants to read her books. But she's like, you will still be safe under my roof, as symbolised by bread and salt. Mm-hmm. And this is a southern place, a southern family.
I think even in A Song of Ice and Fire, you're meant to question that, right?
I understand
it's
that,
Catelyn
but it's
who
just...
introduces us to guest right, who is a southerner. Like, yes, she's
influenced by the North. Which is why, but I just get a bit like, I hear it a lot on other podcasts when people quote it as, and he says that it wasn't as important in the South, and so maybe blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's propaganda. He's just saying that to essentially excuse the Frey and Lannister behaviour, and I just want everyone to stop quoting it like it's fact. It's a real bugbear, and I just want everyone to know that it's not, and guest right is really, really important.
Yes.
I was just on Girls Gone Canon, and we were literally, it was Chloe who was talking, and actually maybe it was Eliana, one of them was saying essentially how the state of Westeros is terrible by the end of A Song of Ice and Fire. Mm-hmm. And like all of society is just crumbling. Like you cannot trust anyone. I mean, you already couldn't in King's Landing, but like everywhere, there's just examples of it everywhere, and it's caused by the Red Wedding.
Yes. Yeah.
And I just, it's a personal thing. If I don't hear someone say the caveat of, but this is propaganda and it's probably incorrect and guest right is important all over Westeros, then I go a bit mad. Just it's a little one of those
everywhere, but maybe Dorne, because we just don't know how Dorne feels about it.
But I think it's even brought up in the Dawn chapters because Balon Swan is going to join them, and but his safe conduct in all the different houses. I'm pretty sure it gets brought up.
But I just mean if it is quote unquote important in Dorne, it's not. It may be something that originates in the North and trickled down, but I don't know, like, when you hear about the stuff that happens later in Dorne.
I don't think it originated in the north. I think it was just a Westerosi culture.
I think it was a first men thing.
Possibly, yeah.
So maybe there is some influence in Dorne then. I don't know. I just think of some of the stuff that happens that we don't get to cover because it's not in Fire and Blood 1. It might be in Fire and Blood 2. Or Blood and Fire is what he confirmed the name to be.
Indeed.
Yeah, anyway, I wonder if it'll come up with Dornish culture because I love to know more about Dornish culture.
I've already asked whether we think Rhaena haunts Harrenhal. Do we think she does?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I want her to.
Is her spirit there? Like genuinely, do you think her spirit's somewhere in there haunting all the people who live there?
I hope so. I read this thing. I put it on my Facebook. I have a sister who passed away, and my sister's birthday is Halloween.
I know, yeah. It's hard.
It's hard, but also like I often use that to I don't know how to put it. Like it's something that I like still, and like it means I celebrate her every year, intentionally or not. Right? There's something that's like I honor her as best I can, and this reminds me of that. I posted this thing on my Facebook where I don't use Facebook very often, but it says, "When I die, don't look for me in the sunsets. I'll be chasing you up the stairs after you turn the lights off."
Oh my god, I love that so much.
I was like, I can't help but think of my sister, and that makes me think of Rhaena. She's like, well, you didn't release me in the sky, so you can't look for me in the sunsets, so I'm going to be chasing people up the stairs at Harrenhal when you turn off the lights.
Oh my god. Yes. She's the reason why Daemon was howling at the moon.
Yes.
It was her definitely in league with Alice Rivers.
Yes.
And she was there. She watched the battle over the God's Eye. For sure.
For
sure.
Yeah.
I've also got something about Princess Daenerys. Have you got a spoiler yet? Or...
I do. I can talk a little. There was one that I was going to say just for like pointing out. Obviously we covered the show, and I almost said this in the main section. It probably wouldn't have mattered, but we have the birth of Balon the Brave, who does become the parent of Viserys and Daemon. Yes. So it's just important to like keep in your brain as they grow and develop and marry and stuff, because all of this comes together. But yes, my spoilery about Daenerys is yours is probably sooner. Yours probably has more to do with her character, right? Yeah. And she's a lot like Dany. Willful.
She's willful. I like that she disappears a lot. Like she likes to go off on her dragon. Yeah. And she often disappears, and I just think that's
reminds me of Rhaenyra too.
But it's Daenerys. Like Daenerys literally disappears off on her dragon, and people can't find her. So I like that. Yeah. Little nod there to her namesake.
It's good. It's also like a lot like her auntie Rhaena too. Disappears.
Yeah, definitely. Dragon.
Yeah.
But what's yours?
Mine is more. We talked about the faceless men.
Okay.
And I said that maybe there is a faceless man that maybe infiltrates the palace, and maybe the Sea Lord of Braavos executing his power and taking his price was killing wee Dany.
Do you think it wasn't the Shivers?
No, because she was this weird exception to that, right?
But why would they do that? That's so mean. She's just
well, he made a threat. He exacted the price. All men must pay. All men must die. All men must serve.
But he didn't need to. They made a deal with the
kind of,
money.
Sort of, though, right? Like he made the threats. They were out there. I do think that they made a switch and took a faceless. One way or another, I think a faceless man went back to King's Landing that day. So
interesting.
I do. I think that.
But why would they kill Dany? Why would they kill Daenerys?
Because she was reachable. I don't know. That's just my thought. She was the firstborn.
But as in, like, why?
Why not the son instead?
Or just, but what reason do they have for killing one of them?
The threat at all. Just the notion that they can touch them, that they're not untouchable.
But they've not exactly claimed it. They've not
just
said, this was us.
It just came to mind. I'm just proposing it. I'm not.
No. I think it's a good idea, and I like it. It's actually, I like that the tables have turned, and you're giving me.
I know. I was thinking when I had this thought, and I was writing this, and like, oh god, I'm going to talk about this. I'm like, oh god, maybe I owe Joe Magician an apology.
No, I like it, and actually, when we get to that bit, I'm gonna have that in my mind. I love tinfoil, and I think the tinfoil is you just have fun with it and go, yeah, sure, that could have happened.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think like in this case, it hadn't dawned on me before this read that it was possible that a faceless man could be present in King's Landing. And she is this weird exception to when the shivers happen, this idea that Targaryens can't be touched by sickness, but they can. They just said, oh, you think, pretty much they said, you think you're untouchable. I'm going to show you that you're not. So
but Daenerys, another Daenerys, the Daenerys in A Song of Ice and Fire, doesn't get the bloody flux, even though she touches people with it.
Exactly.
But she does end up...
She gets food poisoning.
Dysentery or miscarriage.
Or miscarriage.
We're not sure, but she's certainly
ill. But it's not
ill.
the same. Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not like you said, she doesn't get the flux.
Poisonous berries or something. But we're not sure, but she doesn't get the flux. Yeah.
So it still feeds into that. But and also, just for argument's sake, by the time Daenerys comes around, they've intermarried a lot more than now into Westerosi houses. So she comes from...
True. Not that many, but...
Not that many, but enough where the bloodline is a little different. But I think Dany is not sick either. I think she's having a miscarriage.
I do think Targaryen genes are probably dominant in that way, though. They seem to be dominant there, like that. Yeah. So
yeah, that's my little pet
theory. Very interesting. Speaking of Daenerys and the Daenerys, I do wonder if the idea that Daenerys and Aemon were supposed to marry and rule together is foreshadowing that Dany and Jon, whose name is possibly Aemon, there is foreshadowing.
They think it would be Aemond, right? Aemon? No, Aemon. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because he declares, I'm the Aemon, the Dragon Knight. You know.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's
my
possible that
theory.
he's. Oh, it's my favourite theory too.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that his real name is Aemon. So will Daenerys and Aemon, or / Jon,
actually
marry and rule together, and will she die instead, like her namesake?
Like her namesake did. Before it ever happens.
I do think she will. I think my theory is, I'm sticking to it, that it's like Rhaenyra, her legacy lives on, but she doesn't.
Yeah. Perhaps.
That's what I'm thinking.
It would be a better ending than Bran, but...
Well, I think George has already confirmed that Bran is going to be king, but I don't think that it's in the way that Dan and Dave wrote it.
It's hard to say. I think
he'll be king on a weirwood throne somewhere up north of the wall.
Right. That's what History of Westeros was like. I think that the kingdoms will fracture.
Yeah.
And Bran will be king of maybe the Isle of Faces at Harrenhal or something like that. And Sansa will be queen in the north.
Yeah, I think that's great. And because the book is not called Game of Thrones, the show is Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So their whole thing was who's going to end up on the throne, even though that actually wasn't the most important story in the whole thing.
I think that just if Jon is a secret Targaryen, it has to mean something. And it never did. There was no payoff for it in the show.
God, no.
So I think that's maybe the biggest thing that tells me that there's going to be a diversion somehow.
Oh God, yeah.
Or in many ways. But anyway. Anyway. What else you got?
I've got some Barth things. We got Barth's trip to Braavos mirroring Jaehaerys Swift's trip to Braavos to treat with the Iron Bank, which is the last thing that we see in the published works is Jaehaerys Swift going off, and we see, if you read any of the pre-release chapters of Winds, there is
Mercy.
We see that does happen in the Mercy chapter. I wonder if the meetings will go a bit like Barth's meetings, quite threatening.
Yeah.
Because obviously Jaehaerys Swift is going to sort out the very fact that Cersei decided just not to pay the Iron Bank. Yeah. But the Iron Bank have already gone to Westeros
to collect the
debt. Are already funding Stannis to be follow the money. They're like, you're gonna be the king. You've got the money now. We'll give you whatever money you need. Yeah. As long as we get it back. So I'm wondering if Jaehaerys Swift is going to get to Braavos and have an interesting conversation with the Iron Bank and the Sea Lord.
But is it the Iron Bank or the Sea Lord that he's treating?
Well, he's speaking to the Iron Bank, but I'm sure he will treat with the Sea Lord as well.
I think so, yeah. Just as
diplomatically. But I just wonder if there will be a very similarly threatening conversation that takes place between Jaehaerys Swift, and whether the faceless men will come into it.
Do you think the Iron Bank are looking for Daenerys as well? Like, do you think they're trying to have an egg in every basket?
Ooh, could be.
I'm curious.
That would be interesting. I like that. You've really got your tinfoil hat on today, haven't you? But I like that. I like it. Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah, if they like, seek out young Griff and Aegon once they start.
But the thing is, so the other thing that it reminds you all of is it serves as a reminder that there's beef between Valyria and Braavos, and you've got to kind of keep in your mind of who will they be backing?
Yes.
Out of all this, will they actually want to back Daenerys, a dragon lord?
But I think the Iron Bank.
Although she's ending slavery, so.
Right, exactly. But the Iron Bank exists the way it does because it kind of stays out of the politics, right? Sort of. Like right now they have to be political because they need to recoup their money, and so they're following Stannis. But in the same way that the Iron Bank still loaned to the Targaryens, I don't think they would not loan or get involved with Daenerys or young Griff if they were the ruling party. Or the party that was going to reimburse the debt. So it's interesting. I'm curious.
That is it. I want to know how, because I feel like the arrival of Tycho Nestoris is quite a surprise. You don't expect it, and suddenly the Iron Bank are involved, and you see, oh wow, this is going to turn.
This is going to get big. My little pet theory that may or may not, it is tinfoil-esque. May or may not play into the Iron Bank too much, but I think that young Griff's war is going to be paid with Blackfire coin. The stuff that was recollected after the Blackfire rebellions when they minted their own coins. So I think that's my little theory that's going to recirculate around the time that Griff hits the throne. Cool. And maybe that's what they will try and, pay the Iron Bank back with as Blackfire coin or something, which is technically not good. And it could make things more messy.
Oh, I like that theory.
Yeah,
that's good. I've got like 3 more. Do you have any more?
I have one more. But you do yours, and I'll see where mine fits.
You sure?
Yep.
I've got one big one and one very small one and one silly one.
Okay.
Which one would you like?
The silly one. Let's do that one.
The silly one. Okay. So the silly one is related to the faceless men that we just talked about, and you know how we kind of touched on, you said I'm pretty convinced that a faceless man went back that day.
Yeah.
So do you think that they have a thing where basically there's like they keep, so excuse my tinfoil here, but there will always be a faceless man in King's Landing?
Yeah, that's what I think now. I think that this was them being like, okay, well now obviously they're making threats. We need to watch these Targaryens. Yeah. We need to watch.
Do you think that's why Jaqen H'ghar was in King's Landing? Was that his job?
Perhaps. Yeah. But then who took over for him? Because if he was, then someone would have to take over.
Dunno. But that could be a reason why Jaqen H'ghar was, because it's a big question, so why was he there?
Yeah.
And I've seen some very nonsense theories that I'm like, nah, that's not why he was there.
No. But the same with like Syrio is Jaqen.
Oh yeah. That's fairly nonsense too.
Yeah.
Like I love tinfoil, but that's just too far for me.
It's interesting though when you think about the way, this is very tinfoil, but just try and follow me for a second. That George kind of writes, especially for the Starks, father figures that continue with them all after Ned is gone, right? So like Arya has Syrio, and then oh my god, what's his name? The Night's Watch.
Yoren.
I kept thinking, like I was combining Yoren and Harwin, and I'm like, that's not right. Yoren. And then kind of like Brotherhood, and then kind of like the Hound, but Jaqen is in there too as like the strange father figure. So she sort of has these maybe twisted, but father figure characters that run through. Does. And so because Jaqen is sort of faceless man, Syrio to Jaqen is very like that faceless man theory. You have Jon, who also has father figures that kind of run through his storyline as well. And if you follow the Mance's Rhaegar theory, then you sort of believe that Jon also has a father figure that changes who they are, changes their face to continue to parent him. So it would be sort of an interesting parallel story of like Syrio to Jaqen and Rhaegar to Mance to Rhaegar, however that works out.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
I do actually like the Mance's Rhaegar theory.
I do too. I just think it's fun. I don't know if I think it's true, but I really like it.
I'm not sure. But if it turns out it was true, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I like the connections that Mance has to the colors of red and black and the rubies and stuff like that. They're very Rhaegar.
And the music as well.
And the music. Yeah. And the crypts, possibly.
Yeah. Definitely.
The Blue Rose story.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Me too.
It's a good one.
Me too. It's my favorite one.
Speaking of Arya, shall I do my little one?
Yeah.
So I've got a tiny one. This is just little. It's Balon with his wooden stick. Reminds me of Arya and her wooden stick as well. Just
sure.
It just gives me Arya vibes. That he's like a little warrior.
Yeah.
And so she.
Yeah. In front of the heart tree with her broomstick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my only other one is a big one. So do you want to do yours?
Mine is, it's not small. I feel like you probably have a lot to say on it too, but we're talking about the Manderlys and how they're a northern house and how it's important that Alysanne make marriage alliances because essentially it means, loyalty and alliances down the line. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to talk about how the North in general, like how little the Targaryens would know about northern loyalty. And essentially that the marriage alliances, while they're great and they probably help out House Manderly, I don't know that they're necessary for the sake of loyalty or keeping the way that they are in the South to keep people loyal to the throne. Because I feel like in the North, even though the Targaryens aren't present, I doubt there's ever been a conversation of taking back their word once they had made it. So alliances or no, marriage alliances or no, the alliance is there regardless. Just the Targaryens wouldn't understand the depth of northern loyalty.
True. Although there is a part of me that immediately has thought of how quick it was for the Northern Lords in the Game of Thrones to say, "Oh, I'm sick of taking orders from some southern softy."
Right, but that's because they didn't make that alliance to the Lannisters or the Baratheons. They made the alliance to the Targaryens. Right? Ned was the link to the Baratheons, and so they did it for Ned. And they're doing things still for Ned's girl, but there's no one on the throne now that they have allegiance to. When Robb is named king in the North, there's no one else left that they had sworn allegiance to.
I just heard
Justin blow.
Yeah. Yep. I love it.
Yep. It'll be all the way through here. All the way through.
Trumpeting. It's like a little announcing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right, and that's one of the reasons why I love the northern families, the northern houses. They are so loyal.
Yes.
You doesn't have to be questioned at all.
Except the Boltons. Fuck those guys.
Except the Boltons. Fuck the Boltons. The Boltons are the peaks of the north.
They are, yes. Well, then they can't all be perfect. And then the other one was we talked about the Manderlys being the faith of the seven and how they have knights and stuff like that. And then the only other knight that we see is we've contested this a lot because I think the Mormonts are follow the seven.
You're wrong.
And Jorah, just like the Manderlys, is a knight, or has knights. So they are a house that has
I feel like it's stated literally in the World of Ice and Fire that House Mormon are a first man house.
I didn't say that they weren't. I don't know that they are first men. Anyway, we've debated it. I think they follow the seven, but I don't know.
I don't think they do.
We've had this conversation many times. I'm not going to change my mind and you're not going to change yours, but it was just one where I had to needle that a little bit.
I'm just looking it up now. The Mormonts are an old house with proud and honourable reputation. Mm-hmm. According to the Northern Histories, Roderick Stark, a king in the north, gave Bear Island to the Mormonts after winning the isle in a wrestling match from a driftwood king of the Ironborn.
Yes. That's why I think that they're a newer house. Maybe they were like a lesser house and he gave them that. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they were a close family in Winter's Town and he was like, well, I like these guys. I'm going to give them this island. Maybe, but I think that they are newer somehow and that they follow the seven. And mostly it's because of Gior's language in the early books that makes me think that they are.
What's his language?
Of the seven. Like when Jon goes to take his vows, he says, like, I imagine you'll want to take it before a weirwood tree like your uncle did before you, and not like we of the North do. Like, he signals, separates out the Starks and their culture versus everyone in the North doing that. All the Northern Night's Watchmen don't do that. So,
Possibly.
There's an implication. Anyway, that's just...
What do you think, listeners?
What do you think? I know that everybody thinks I'm wrong, and that's fine. I'm used to it. One of the things we're taught as history students, though, is to read between the lines and to see what the text is implying or doesn't tell you. And again, like Gior not saying like we do as Northerners, but saying like your uncle did as a Stark, to me is a big verbal thing. Now, George didn't have all the details figured out in early Game of Thrones. He says that he made said a lot of things that maybe he didn't mean to say, and maybe this is one of them, but That's just
Possibly.
one of those things for me.
The very fact that I'm not just going, "Nah, you're fucking wrong," means that I'm happy to consider that you might be right. Vaguely. I'm vaguely okay that if you're right, I'll be like, all right, fine.
All right, fine.
I'll sure,
Yes.
fine. Whatever.
Yes.
Whatever.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know. That's big from me.
It is big from you. I know it is. We're going to have complainers. We haven't fought at all this episode.
I know. People are going to be like, where's the big beef?
Where's the fire here? There's no feistiness happening. We missed each other.
We did. It's been ages since we've been able to chat, so we're just being nice to each other.
Exactly.
Give us a few weeks and we'll be arguing. So it's fine.
Yes, for sure.
For sure. We're going to get on to Alysanne a lot in the next few episodes, so that's when there'll be fire. That's where it'll happen.
It's true.
My last one is back to Braavos, because I read into it. I'll get the passage. I'll get the passage. Bring me the passage. When Barth is there and the Sea Lord says, "I know what Jaehaerys could do to us if he chose. Braavosi have a long memory, and we remember the Dragon Lords of old. There are certain things that we might do to your king as well, however, shall I enumerate?" And obviously we know he's talking about the Faceless Men. Mm-hmm. But he's making a direct threat back to a Valyrian Dragon Lord. Mm-hmm. Which, in my head, makes me think, is this basically another admission that it was the Faceless Men who caused the doom of Valyria in the first place. Like, he's like, okay, you've got dragons, but I can bring you guys down.
I've done it before.
We've done it before, and we'll do it again. Because all they had to do, like, the theories about the doom of Valyria abound. And he's like, I don't have to kill everybody, but I could kill a few, a well-chosen few. And, like, one of the theories of the doom of Valyria is that they killed enough mages so that they weren't able to control the 14 flames anymore, and the fours, and the blah, 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 and so they all exploded. And obviously you can do that in King's Landing.
Often make, because I have not read these books, but just the way you said that made me think of the digging too deep and awakening the Balrogs.
Yes. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
And I think obviously they couldn't do the same thing in King's Landing in Westeros because there's no 14 flames, but he's just basically saying, we killed a few important people last time and look what happened.
I tore down an empire once before, I could do it again.
Yeah. So to me, as soon as I read that, I was like, "Ooh, I feel like this is an admission that the Faceless Men and the Braavosi in particular," and I guess it kind of re-points you in the direction of where are the Braavosi going to fit with this, because they're involved in the story. Obviously, the Sea Lord of Braavos apparently made a marriage pact between Viserys and Arianne, and he signed it. Apparently, the Sea Lord of Braavos housed the Targaryen children. Apparently, we there's question marks over whether they really were there or not there, or whether Daenerys' memories of it are correct. And I know George has said, wait and see.
Yeah. I feel like that's George's way of saying, I haven't decided yet.
I haven't decided. I don't know yet.
Yeah. I'm not sure which seed will grow.
Yeah. But in essence, the part of the story rests on that Daenerys and Viserys were sheltered there. That the eggs that Alyssa Farman took went there. That there's history with Braavos and dragons and Valyria, and it's fascinating to me, firstly, that I think that essentially that was just a very minor admission that we brought you guys down before, we'll do it again, and we don't even have to do very much to do it. We don't have to murder everybody in the streets loudly and with fire and blood like you Targaryens. We can just kill a couple of people, a bit Tywin-esque, just to kill a few people at dinner. Literally has brought down all of the northern houses, and it changed the face, the whole, like I said about the guest right, it's changed how Westeros functions. It doesn't function properly because people can't trust anyone. Society is breaking down. So it's like we could kill a couple of people and you'd all be ended. And is that going to impact? Does that give us an idea of how Braavos is going to come into it later on, and if the Faceless Men working with Braavos? Are they working with the Iron Bank? Do they all work together? I know some people think that the Iron Bank, the Sea Lord and the Faceless Men are kind of in it together.
Absolutely they are. Yes, absolutely they are.
Yeah. Where is this going to go? Like, it's so, like, you know, you've got Tycho Nestoris.
You know how we
around.
talk about Old Town and how it's the Faith, the Citadel, and the High Towers?
The High Towers, yeah.
It's the same with Braavos. It's the Bank, the Faceless Men, and the Sea Lord, for sure. They run the city, for sure.
Yeah.
They're all connected. All men must serve.
Indeed. And all men must die, but we are not men, says Daenerys.
Stupid men. Anyway.
Okay, I'll leave that one there. I thought it was a pretty cool line. I was fine with it.
Oh, I hated it.
Okay. I'm gonna swallow it. I'm gonna go, okay.
That's what
for the
she
sake. That was a good one. So I don't know. I want to know how it's gonna affect the story going forward, because who are Braavos gonna back? Like you said, they could have an egg in every fire and want to back Daenerys because she's ending slavery, but she's also a dragon lord. Yeah. Bathing the world in fire and blood. You know, like, and because they've also got Jack and Hagar in Old Town up to some shit. Like, what's he doing? What is their overall plan? And I guess that we could do a whole episode just on that.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is George saying, look at Braavos.
Yeah. Pay attention to these people.
Pay attention to these people, because they might seem like just a bunch of people in a distant place, and they're just a bank.
It's true. And also one of our beloved characters is there. So again, we're there. We're supposed to be looking at it and paying attention. I don't think we're looking at it in terms of Targaryens yet in A Song of Ice and Fire, but we are definitely feet on the ground in Braavos, so we'll see what happens. We'll see. We've had two main characters actually, and we had a Targaryen in Braavos. But anyway. Yeah. On a ship.
Who else?
Aemon.
Yeah. Oh, Maester Aemon. Can I just get a shout out for Maester Aemon?
Oh, I know. Bless him.
Love him.
Yep. I think that's all.
I think that's everything.
Good. That
was fun.
That's all we got. That was fun. Yeah. Yeah. Low key.
Yeah. Low key, light episode. No one's eyes burst.
Nope. Not this time.
Not this time.
Thank God. Yeah. No snakes were bursting out of bodies this time.
Indeed. No disgusting wiggly worms. But I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the chat about Braavos because I think it's good. I think it's a good it's a fun little...
I know, it was fun to have my tinfoil hat on for the first time in a long time.
I really enjoyed that.
I
think you should fashion yourself a beautiful tinfoil hat that you just put on occasionally. Look, I'm putting it on. Look, boop. There you go. Make yourself a really nice one.
Yeah. Yeah. If we did video recordings, I might actually do that.
Yeah. Do, because I think you should, because my tinfoil hat would be crap because it would just have been put on my head so many times.
Overuse.
Overuse.
And mine's going to be like gleaming and sparkling because it only comes out on special occasions.
Exactly. Yeah. I know, right? Maybe we should have a Patreon competition for the best made tinfoil hat and get them all to take photos of themselves
in a tinfoil hat.
In a tinfoil hat. Yes. I think I would absolutely love to see that.
That would be amazing.
And we should have a tinfoil hat hangout.
And whoever wins, we will send you a t-shirt.
Oh my God, yes! Let's do that. Tinfoil hat competition, Patrons.
Yes, look for it. We'll post that on Patreon later.
Yeah, we'll do. Yay! Yeah, I love that. We'll put it on our Discord.
It'll be the Discord opening is the tinfoil hat competition.
Yeah, love that.
Kick it off with a bang.
Yeah. A bang, not a whimper.
Yes.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for hanging out with me for a few hours, Steph.
Thank you for hanging out with me for a few hours. It was lovely.
I missed you so much over the summer.
know. Yeah. I know, right? Yeah. Oh, stupid summer holidays.
Summer holidays, kids.
I know. We're in autumn now. We're in our autumn era.
Yeah, pumpkin spice era here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't have pumpkin spice in the UK.
Shut up! Really?
We have pumpkin spice flavored lattes.
Yeah,
but we don't know what it is. We don't have like. You can't go. You could probably go to a few places now, maybe, and buy pumpkin spice flavoring, but it's not a big. It's not like a.
It's just like what you'd put in. Well, so It's mostly just
because
that
we
you put
don't
in
we don't have like a pumpkin pie culture here.
Right.
It's not a thing.
Yeah. It's the
People don't do
Thanksgiving
pumpkin
culture.
pie, which is a shame because I love pumpkin pie and I love sweet potato pie and I think it's bloody delicious. But I didn't even understand what pumpkin spice was until like a couple of years ago, because I was just like, what do you mean pumpkin spice? Because pumpkin just tastes like pumpkin. Like it's just
but like
flavored with
a pumpkin spice latte is pumpkin.
I
a little
understand
bit of pumpkin
now.
and the pie spice. It's
I
both.
understand now. But I just thought it was like, but pumpkin isn't a spice flavour. Pumpkin tastes like pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't get it. And then I was like, oh, it's a spice mix. Okay.
Plus some pumpkin. But yes.
Plus some pumpkin. But yes. But pumpkin spice is a spice mix. I didn't know what that was.
But if you got like a pumpkin spice latte, it would be like a pumpkin syrup with spice mix.
Yeah. No. I don't drink coffee.
From Starbucks anyway. But I don't drink
from
coffee really either, so I don't drink pumpkin spice lattes. I do like pumpkin pie ice cream though. That's delicious.
Oh my god, I need to have pumpkin pie ice cream
You
in
need
my
to
life.
just come to Canada right now, because the pumpkin
Can
pie
you
ice
just buy
cream
that in the
is
shop? Because I was
happening.
just like, I'd have to make that myself, and I just literally went in my head like, how would I do that?
Yeah,
Because like I said, pumpkin pie is just not big here.
apple pie or pumpkin pie ice creams are both popular right now. The apple pie ones are really good, and all you need to do is buy or make an apple pie and churn it into ice cream. So get vanilla ice cream and pumpkin or apple pie and churn it. But pumpkin pie ice cream is different. Pumpkin pie ice cream is orange. It is fully saturated, like pumpkin-y with like, and usually there's like crust bits and spices.
Oh my god.
So it's
okay,
good. They're
I need
both
to do that.
delicious. They're both delicious.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so listeners, you need to make those too.
I feel like we'll probably cut that out.
Maybe. I don't know. I think we all need to hear about... I think everyone's going to be very thankful for the pumpkin pie ice cream and the apple pie ice cream.
Go and look
You
at
never
your
know.
local ice cream shops and see if they have it. And
Yeah.
if not,
And
move
if
to
not-
Canada because we have it here. So
Or just get some ice cream and put some pie in it.
yes, or
Mix
eat
it
it
up.
with a side of pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not
I
a
really want
pumpkin
some
pie
pie
fan
now.
because I don't like the texture too much.
Oh my god, I love pie. I love all the pies.
I like pie. Pumpkin pie is maybe one of my least favorites. Just texture. If it's literally covered in whipped cream, it's fine.
Okay. That's what she said.
Because it breaks up the texture. Yeah.
Anyway, people,
Okay.
go and get
On
some
that
pie.
note, go get some pie.
On that note, go
And
get
we
some
love you.
pie.
And thank you for
And
listening.
yeah, thank you for listening, you beautiful, beautiful people. And we'll see you again, or listen to you again. You can listen to us. You can see us. Whatever. One of those.
Whatever.
Pick that.
We'll see
Whatever.
the things. You'll see the things. We'll be around.
We'll be around.
We'll be around.
Bye.
Bye.